on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Our buy is as late as it's ever been in my career in the NFL, and so I think it's needed. Guys can get away a little bit.
Aaron Rodgers. Mike Danger.
So what are we talking about, Gino?
Gene Battaglia.
We'll talk some Sabres. We'll talk some Amerks.
What a save by Levi!
He's going to have the opportunity to come down and just grow his game.
But Brendan Barrow is getting called up now because you have an extra spot.
It is Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and FSU atop the latest non-binding CFP rankings. Ohio State is now 6.
Oh, who cares?
If any of you have problems with the rankings, please fight me.
So what are we actually rooting for? Chaos, upsets.
Yeah.
We want to see upsets.
I guess I like chaos, and I do like Nick Saban.
It's Alabama every week.
Bobby Petrino is headed back to Arkansas.
The NBA Cup quarterfinals are set.
I love it.
My name is Gene Battaglia. The Dandelion on the board today.
The Dandelion.
We'll probably get back to the regular scheduled program next Monday.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Maybe. Again, we are a little short-handed here today, but listen, we're going to have fun nonetheless. Gene Battaglia with your Dandelion. Giving us some extra time. We got you alongside for the ride with us on Rochester's only local daily sports talk show, The Fan here in Rochester. We call it the Sports Bar, and I love calling it the Sports Bar because who doesn't love being in a sports bar, just kind of hanging out and talking and having a little fun. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Danger once again is under the weather. I'm not telling tales out of school. He said this himself on the show on Monday when he was dialing in remotely. He's got COVID. And today, I guess, a little bit better than yesterday, but still kind of down and out. So I'm like, don't worry, dude. We got it covered. And maybe we do this remotely. He's not going to be back in the studio at all this weekend, but I think maybe we get him back on the show tomorrow because tomorrow we're going to have a good show. We got Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy will be joining us for his normal Thursday segment. As it's funny how like when the Bills are on the bye, like the rest of the NFL goes along here, like everything else. So you got to set your fantasy lineup. We got a game tomorrow night. We'll talk to Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy tomorrow. We'll also be talking to Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast as a lot of interesting things about Shohei Ohtani that are being bantied about, and Jim has been one of the few that have been passing along these nuggets. So we'll talk a little hot stove as we are on the verge here of the baseball winter meetings. We got time for your calls today, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. And we do have a busy show, though, so I would suggest calling sooner rather than later. And here is the lineup. Here's what's on tap here in the Sports Bar. It's brought to you by Three Heads Brewing, Loopy Oatmeal Red Ale. Yes, it's back. Enjoy this beautiful hoppy red ale with a hint of toasted oats. Get yours at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue today. What's on tap today? Well, close of the show today, we'll talk to head coach Wayne Wilson of the RIT Tigers, who came within 5 seconds of knocking off a weekend sweep there. They won the first game, and then the second game, they're up by 1 and tying goal and then losing in overtime to New Hampshire. Robert Morris coming in this Friday and Saturday. We'll talk to Wayne Wilson at about 5:45. We will be talking hockey next hour. Joe Yurden from the Bleacher Report will be joining us as, I don't call it like a shocking move. Like, if you're paying attention, this was probably it shouldn't have been a surprise, but nonetheless, when it kind of dropped, we were like, oh, there it is. Devin Levi sent down to Rochester. Well, we'll talk to Joe Yurden about that. And, the Sabre team, can they keep this kind of going? Patrick King not going to the not going to the Sabres. Also want to get his thoughts on the whole Corey Perry Blackhawk thing. This is some wild speculation out there right now, and just kind of not a good look for the Chicago franchise. Rochester Nighthawk defenseman Ethan O'Connor will be making his inaugural debut. He will be stopping in as he will be a new member of this team, signing as a free agent over from Buffalo. The Nighthawks coming up on Saturday night at home against Calgary. And finally, coming up here at about 3:25, we'll talk to PJ Glasser. He's your host of BetQL's Send It In, as it is a massive weekend in college football. We'll get PJ's best bets. We'll get his thoughts on the NFL. We want to help make you some money, and the guy we talk to is PJ Glasser, your host of BetQL. Again, our number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. The table is set. Dan, how are you today?
I'm good, Gino. How you doing?
Yeah, we're getting into a rhythm here. We're just like, if I had the time, I would have the big voice guy be like, just hit the button as a practical joke, like when Danger comes back. Welcome to the sports bar with Battaglia and Drummy. Bum, bum, bum. No,
sure.
Yeah.
See what Danger thinks.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't like take jokes real well. Like when I was, asked him about baking, purposely knowing he fancies himself as a chef, he took the bait right away. So Danger is one of those guys that, yeah, if you needle him correctly, and that would be a good way to kind of needle him if we just change all the imagery here of the station. Kind of a different day without normally you're in the rhythm of a football season, and Wednesday means, oh, hey, here's Sean McDermott. We'll play McDermott McLies, and we'll kind of look ahead. We don't have any of that. It's too soon to talk about the Chiefs here. But we do have this. And I guess this is the hallmark of a good football game. Now here we are on the Wednesday, and we're still talking about what we saw Sunday. Mm-hmm. Like angles we still haven't explored, people still discussing. Dan, I'm still going on. I can't believe how McDermott didn't try at the end. I can't believe that there's been people still dissecting. Was it Josh Allen? Was it Gabe Davis? What? Look, that's all fine. If you want to vent, that's what the line is here for, 8664-FAN. Now, this is another angle. Actually, this comes out of Philadelphia today. And if you remember the sequence at the end of the game, the Bills kind of caught a break right toward the end when, the Eagles were pushing themselves out of field goal range. Didn't matter. They got the field goal anyway. Jason Kelce specifically. Not one, but two false starts. And on one of those false starts, he gives the arm twitch. And that will give the signal. You know how it works. Offensive lineman, little twitch, and that means the defensive lineman's allowed to jump into the neutral zone, and the play is blown dead, and ergo, the flag will be on for the false start. You're just signaling it to the officials. Well, what Jordan Phillips did on that play, he didn't signal to the officials. He literally ran over Cam Jurgens on the play. And today, Jason Kelce went on our sister station WIP in Philadelphia and called it, I can't say the word here, called it a BS play at the time. He purposely tried to hurt Cam Jurgens. I think he should be fined for that play. Whoa. Okay. This is normally you don't get players asking for other players to be fined in this league. But I look back at that, I'm like, yeah, did Jordan Phillips really need to kind of run over the offensive lineman? Probably not. And I think it's going to be unfortunate because now probably Jordan Phillips was going to get fined on this play now that we watch it back. There was so much in this game, like a false start penalty is not what we're going to be talking about on the show. But Jason Kelce kind of brought this to our attention. And I think that this is something you normally don't see here out of Philadelphia. Yeah, and as far as the rest of the game, Kelce not commenting on the Philadelphia fans going after Jordan Phillips, and for that matter, Shaq Lawson. The other news of the day, and I just want to kind of point out something here, and there are certain euphemisms in the world, meaning, hey, rather than say what it is, we're just going to put a nice little smiley thing on it just to kind of soften the blow. Like, you don't ever get the press release anymore that says, hey, we fired our head coach today, Frank Reich. No, he's been relieved of his duties. When Ken Dorsey is gone, he wasn't fired. He was relieved of his duties. That's a euphemism. That's like, hey, we're kind of making it, making it sound really nicer. I didn't realize this until yesterday. We have one now in the NHL. Because you and I, Dan, were doing the show yesterday, and Devin Levi is on loan to Rochester. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, does that mean is there an injury thing? Is this, no, he was sent down. Yep. He was sent down to Rochester, but instead it's saying, hey, we've reassigned him. We've sent him down. He's been loaned, which the Sabres did that again today, by the way. Kulik has been not sent down. He's been loaned back to the... So that's kind of a euphemism, but it just kind of brings into clear focus, wait a second, there really isn't a timetable here for Devin Levi at all. Devin Levi, you look at the stats, you listen to guys like Paul Hamilton, wasn't great up in Buffalo. Not a number one. You have a guy that's playing like a number one right now in UPL. So Well, what are the options here? Do you give Devin Levi one game every week and a half, 2 weeks? Or is it better just to get him working as a 21-year-old? We can all agree the answer is the latter. But here's my problem, and it's another euphemism. The D word. It's all about his development. Oh, really? Oh, it's all about his development. Really? Is that it? Or is it just the goaltender wasn't playing that well and can't get any time? I think it's a situation where it was, that was then, this is now. That was then, April. You know what? We're not going to put him on the Clear Day roster, or UPL for that matter, because they've earned it. They're NHLers. They are here. And being in Rochester, it's not. What, that couldn't have helped the Amerks during the playoffs? Mm-hmm. You can't have it both ways. Savoy comes down and it's about development. Okay, you put him in the lineup. I don't think that was, not a top 10 reason why the Amerks lost to Hershey. But I think that if you actually, and Subban was fine last year for the Amerks. But I just want to point out that when it comes to the way they're managing the goaltenders up in Buffalo, it's completely fluid. Where last April, Devin Levi had made it. Yay, he's a Buffalo Sabre. He's in NHL. You didn't get him in Rochester. Now it's about development all of a sudden? No, it's another euphemism. It's about a goaltender that's not playing well. We need to get his head right. And the way you get his head right isn't to sit behind UPL. It's to get him playing. So, again, we should all be excited that Devin Levi's here. And I would expect him to play pretty well. Now, the irony here is that the average goaltending's been okay. It really has. Dustin Kokarski had 49 saves. Didn't win the game, but you're outshot 49-15. You're not going to win too many games. He kept the Amerks in the game at Lehigh Valley on a game. You're playing on a Friday night, and then you got to go 5 hours overnight, basically, and then play the next night in a different town. Yeah, that was a situation where we were set up to fail, basically, but Tokarski almost single-handedly bailed him out. Now it's like, hey, Dustin, sorry. Look, he's a vet. Cooley's a vet. They got to know the deal here. I did talk to Danger today. It's like, well, why not just kind of dump Comrie? I'm like, I think that's going to be the end game here. Mm-hmm. If I had to play this out, Dan, is that you get, okay, if I had to predict, it could be way off. And again, bar injuries would change everything, but you give Devin Levi like a month here. In fact, you let him have the rest of the calendar here. Let him dominate here. Let him get his confidence up. And you're hoping that UPL continues on this track where he's a number one goalie, and all of a sudden you have a 1A and a 1B up in Buffalo and everything is fine. That at some point you will bring back up Devin Levi. And then only then at that point you say to Comrie, all right, look. Or maybe it's the trade deadline. You're just doing this thing where you're stashing him. It's a wasted roster spot. It really is, to balance 3 goalies. This is not college hockey. It's like you've got to have just 2, and that's it. And then the e-bug, so to speak. But when Buffalo and Rochester are right next to each other, really you should have only 2 goaltenders on the Sabres roster. So I think it's just kind of interesting how all of a sudden Amerks hockey, it's been interesting. It got a lot more interesting for me. Like up in Belleville, we're paying attention this week because Cooley was back. Levi was back here in town today, getting some practice. Team will be up there Friday, 7:05 Saturday. Also, 7:05. Don Stevens will have the call for both of those games, and then the team isn't home until December the 8th. And then they're making the New England trip after that. So that's kind of the bummer here for Amerks fans. Is like, well, this is the one spot in the schedule now where all of a sudden you don't get a lot of home games. It's like you're going to get the one game on the 8th, and then I think it's like Christmas week until the next time. So just kind of know that kind of in advance there. Other things we can talk about here on the show today. And I mentioned how we're going to have Jim Riley on from Barrel Lip Sports. And look, we're going to talk Bills. We're going to talk Sabres. Sabres play tomorrow night. Bills bye week. Baseball had this opportunity to really dominate the headlines, didn't they? Well, I guess it wasn't their choice because a player gets to dictate their free agency. And this is a free agency tour unlike one we've ever seen. Shohei Ohtani's people are not allowing you to talk to the media, to leak that there was a visit, to do any of that. It's almost like a closed bidding. It comes across as, hey, he wants to be respectful, and that's probably part of it. But think of it this standpoint. When you're like, if you're going to an auction, you want info. Or even in your fantasy league, like, okay, how much does this guy have in his budget? How much should I bid? And I'm sure there's a lot of intel, maybe even some like corporate espionage, right? But the fact that we don't know who Shohei Ohtani is taking meetings with, we don't know which teams are really saying out loud, hey, we're interested, and every team should say that. It just leaves this huge void for the sport, and it's kind of disappointing. I kind of liken it to, well, you may not have liked LeBron in the decision, but that's all we were talking about in July of, what year was that, 2008? And every time we have one of those situations in free agency, even Aaron Judge a little bit last year, but to me, Shohei, more teams involved, one unique player, unique being one of a kind. There's nobody else that has this skill set. With Judge, it was really, you knew it was only like two teams. It was either the Yankees or the Giants. Now I don't know anything. Well, this brings me back to Jim Riley, who will be joining us on the show tomorrow, because he's quoting another source here saying the Texas Rangers are out on this. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know they were in, but that's certainly a team that coming off a World Series and Dallas being a big market, you would figure that ownership might take a run, but like, do they really need them? Nobody really needs any one particular player, but found that interesting. And the report he was quoting was, this is the interesting part, not the Yankees, the Red Sox. There's one AL East team that is also dropped out of the Shohei sweepstakes. And he thinks, Riley does, that's the Red Sox, which people have been connecting because of New Balance. That's Shohei's shoe, a lot of things that I want to kind of go back to this, because there is one big sports myth. The sports myth is this, is that Shohei Ohtani only wants to play on the West Coast. Where did that come from? Dan, do you know where that came from?
I don't.
Okay, I'll tell you where that came from. It came from Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman, when talking to reporters in whatever year that was, 2017 to 2018, when Shohei made his decision to join the Angels, and we all looked kind of like, with like a stink face, like somebody passed it, like the Angels. Why? Well, Cashman goes up there, talking to, the Yankee media, and he just states it as fact that, well, we talked to him, and, he has a preference to stay on the West Coast, and we weren't ever in the running. Okay. Is that really true? Or are you just trying to save face? Like, it never came from Shohei. Never came. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this. Never came from Shohei. Never came from his agent. Just Brian Cashman saying it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then all the scribes write it down in their notebook. That's why I just want to prepare. Can you imagine a world where Shohei ends up in Toronto, or dare I say our favorite team, Dan?
No, Gino, don't do that.
Yeah, come on.
No, Gino, don't. Come on.
Yeah! Mike Danger, not here today. Let's play. Yeah, so that's, honestly, that's the fun part. We can all kind of just imagine here, but Jim Riley will be joining us tomorrow, and he's saying that there are two teams you can cross off the list, that being the Texas Rangers, and he's hearing it's the Red Sox crossed off. Now, again, Shohei's people have said, hey, if you leak anything, we're going to hold it against you. Yeah, but if you're out, what do you care? That's why I tend to believe that report. If you're out, what are you going to do, not come here? Ooh. No, you want to tell everybody else, we're not going to be in, but we have money to spend. Or we're not going to be in, but let's make a deal. We can make this kind of work in this regard. So I think that's the course here, Dan. It's going to be kind of like for Shohei, it's going to be like process of elimination. Meaning, all right, this team says they're out, that team says they're out. I don't think any team should actually stay out until they're actually really, truly out. I was talking to Brandon Potter, he's the coach at Fisher, and he's like, where's he going to go? Oh, the Giants. Like, that makes sense because they had this nest egg all saved up for Aaron Judge, and it looked like for a hot minute he was going to go there. And I think for Aaron Judge's sake, it was smart for him to go back to the Yankees. Like, for his brand, for baseball itself. For Shohei, where would I like to see him? I'd love to see him in a place like Toronto.
LA, the Dodgers.
I know that's the chalky pick. You think that's where he's going to go?
I do. If it's sticking true to the West Coast thing, if that is true, then it just makes the most sense. And I assume they can afford it, and it's a big market, and the Dodgers are always in contention. It makes sense with a team who's always had the chance to win.
Do you think Shohei was close enough in that market and he was yearning to go over there? I don't know. That's one of the things or would he find that disrespectful? It's impossible for me. The Cubs are also the wild card, and that's the one that, okay, they went and bought themselves a manager for $4 million. Like, that's the one that I thought, all right, maybe the Cubs, and all of a sudden, look, I'm not a Cub fan, you're not a Cub fan, Danger's a Cub fan. I'd like to see that. That town would go crazy. I'd like to see him go to a baseball town that could actually appreciate what Shohei is. And he's not going to pitch this year, mind you, but just to get him on a bigger platform where we could see him. And because of the time difference, yeah, the Dodgers would be a bigger platform, but for us down here where we sit, not all that much. No, I'd love it if you went to an East Coast team or like the Cubs or some team like that. I'm happy the Rangers are crossed off the list, quite frankly, if that report is true. Like, okay, do we really need him in Texas? Is that a team anybody
do they really need him?
No. Anybody could use him.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, sure.
We'll get the thoughts of PJ Glasser. He's an Orioles fan. We got to come up with something to needle him, do the old Van Pelt bit there. PJ Glasser. He's the host of BetQL's Send It In. We will also be talking later today. We'll talk Nighthawks with defenseman Ethan O'Connor, Joe Yurden from the Bleacher Report. RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson will also be joining us. And time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326 here on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Rochester Americans up in Belleville Friday and Saturday. The news from yesterday, goaltender Devin Levi joining the Amerks, getting sent down. Levi showing a good attitude today.
The goal of me being here is to be able to play. So personally, my plan is to play games, to practice hard, get better every day. Doesn't really matter where I am. My job's the same, stop the puck. So, I'm here to win games. I'm here to play my best and get better and have some fun doing it.
Head coach Seth Afford telling us yesterday here in the sports bar that Levi will see action this weekend. We'll have both games with Don Stevens Friday and Saturday at 7 o'clock. Season opener for the Rochester Nighthawks coming up Saturday against Calgary. Ethan O'Connor, defenseman, he'll be joining us later today on the show. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
PJ Glasser is your host. BetQL will send it in. PJ, before you came on, we were just talking about the Shohei news here and like how we really don't know who's in. Got a report that the Rangers are out, but you're down there in the Baltimore area. Are the Orioles? No, I can't even get through that question seriously here, PJ. Are they?
No, Gene. They unfortunately they should spend money, but if their owner John Angelos has shown us anything, he won't do it. I think the teams out west, the Dodgers and the Giants, the Rangers, like you just said, maybe the Red Sox potentially. Those are probably the teams. Maybe the Cubs. Those are the 5 teams that I would think he lands. Love for the Orioles to land him because, they were the number 1 seed in the American League. They got a really good young team. It just feels like they're a couple of pitchers and maybe one hitter away from potentially winning a World Series. But, Gene, unless something changes and unless John Angelos does something different, they're no chance they're getting Ohtani.
PJ, for many, this is their favorite weekend of college football. And, I don't know how it's going to feel this time next year because what makes this weekend great, what made the Michigan-Ohio State game great, those are de facto playoff games. And maybe this time next year, there's not going to be, so much riding on it. So when we look at some of the action here and where we might be able to play, this feels like a de facto playoff game. Number 3, Washington, taking on number 5, Oregon. In what really is the last Pac-12 championship game ever. That's going to be Friday night. Oregon is actually giving 9.5 points. How do you see this game playing out, PJ?
Yeah, Gene. Certainly, if Washington wins, they're going to be in. Like you said, Oregon. If they win, they're probably in as well. To me, Washington just feels like last year's TCU. This team has won 8 straight games by 10 points or fewer. You go back and look at the first 4 or 5 games this season for Washington that first month. Gene, they were scoring 50-plus points. They were beating teams by 30, 40. They were just drilling everybody. And then over the last 2 months, everybody's been playing them close. It doesn't matter if it's been Arizona State or Stanford, some of the worst teams in the Pac-12, or whether it's been, Oregon State, Oregon, some of these top-tier teams in the Pac-12, Arizona as well. They've been playing everybody close, but they've been winning all of these games. Oregon's been extremely impressive. Their resume doesn't stack up to some of these other teams, but you look at the other metrics, yards per play, first down percentage, completion percent, all these certain things. They're killing it. I saw today a hypothetical line. If Georgia played Oregon on a neutral field, Georgia would be favored by 1, which kind of tells you how good Oregon is, what the metrics think of them. I like Washington in this spot, though. Like I said, they just feel like last year's TCU to me, Gene. They're on a magical ride. Until somebody beats them, I will not bet against them. I certainly am not going to lay 9.5 against them. So I'll take the Huskies plus the points. I'll sprinkle some money line as well.
Yeah, and if Oregon does win this game, well, it doesn't mean they're necessarily in. And one thing that can kind of prevent them, like what if Alabama wins? Well, I would still think Georgia is getting in, and how could you not take the SEC champion? So I guess that's kind of part one of the question here. If Alabama beats Georgia, is that enough to get them in? Part one. And part two, I mean, we're looking at a line here of Georgia minus the 5.5. How do you play this one, PJ?
Committee, no doubt, Gene, is rooting for Georgia. Their biggest fans are Georgia this weekend because the chaos really comes into play, like you said, if Alabama wins. I think as long as Oregon wins, Bama is in the playoff if they beat Georgia. But, Gene, think about this scenario. If Washington wins, Florida State wins, Michigan wins, and Texas wins, right? Michigan's going to be in undefeated Power 5. Florida State wins, they're going to be in undefeated Power 5. Washington wins, undefeated Power 5. Okay, well then it comes down to Bama, SEC champion, Texas, Big 12 champion. Well, Texas beat Alabama, so how do you put in Alabama over Texas if they beat them? In that scenario, I don't think they get in, but like I said, if Oregon beats Washington, I do think the Tide will get in. I think they have a great shot at winning this game. Gene, crazy stat, since Nick Saban lost to Tim Tebow in Florida in the 2008 SEC championship game, he has played 16 games in Atlanta, and he is a perfect 16-0. For whatever reason, when they play in Atlanta, they just always win. And you're not often getting a plus 5.5 with the Nick Saban team. I feel like you have to take it. I've always thought teams need three things if they want to beat Georgia. You have to have an elite quarterback. You have to have good offensive line play. If you can't block Georgia, you can't beat them. Milroe has been unbelievable here the last couple months of the season. And then the other thing you need is two elite wide receivers. You look at when Georgia played Ohio State last year in the semifinals when they were going up against Marvin Harrison and Abukum. Ohio State should have won that game, Gene. Then Marvin Harrison gets hurt. Georgia comes back. The last game that Georgia lost, they've won 29 straight games. The last game they lost was to Alabama when John Mechie and Jamison Williams were playing, and they couldn't stop them. Jermaine Burton is Bama's top receiver. He transferred in from Georgia, so I expect him to have a big game against his former team. I don't know if Bama has that second guy, though. I'm banking on somebody emerging in this game. The 5.5 is too good to pass up, and you know, Gene, maybe they got Team of Destiny vibes after the way that Iron Bowl went last week.
Yeah, right, PJ. It's funny. Like, we're going over these scenarios like, well, what if Georgia lost? What? We're not even considering Michigan losing, are we here? Like,
no.
This is like what the Big Ten deserves, right, for the format of their conference. Like, congratulations to Iowa getting to this game. And by the way, Iowa, I don't know when you're going to get back there because, well, it's a new Big Ten next year. We might have an Oregon. We might have a USC. Who knows who we might have in that championship game? That's going to be pretty wild. And I love this narrow window here, PJ, meaning, well, if you wanted to bet the under in Michigan, it's a really tight window. The over-under in this game at 35. That's what Iowa does. They play ugly football. Michigan favored by 22. Really odd line there. How do you play this one? How do you view this game, PJ?
Gene, I'll do you one even better. The line that made me chuckle in this game was Iowa. Their total points in the first half and in the second half is a half, 0.5. I've never seen that before, Gene. I don't know how they're going to score in this game. I wouldn't take the over on either. This game has 38-0 written all over it. Iowa won't score. The only chance they have is if Michigan muffs a punt, if they get a deflected interception, if they fumble. That's their only chance. If Michigan just doesn't turn it over, pins them deep, and it has Iowa try and go on a 50, 60-play drive to score a field goal or get a touch, they're not going to do it. So, you know, when Penn State played Iowa, Penn State beat them 31-0. You figure if Penn State does that, Michigan probably beats them 38-0. I'd lay the 22.5. I'd take the over too, Gene. Iowa's not going to help you out, but I think Michigan covers that by themselves. So I like the Wolverines and I like the over.
Yeah, what I like about that logic there is because Michigan isn't going to take their foot off the pedal. I mean, not that they're not going to get they know they're in if they win, but they really want to stick it to the country after everything that happened to them.
That's exactly right. Plus, you know, they got Harbaugh back on the sideline, so they're going to be extra juice from that. I mean, you're right. They want to make an emphatic statement. They want to get the number 1 overall seed. I mean, you know, the two semis this year are the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. What team, what kid, what players, what coaches don't want to play in the Rose Bowl? So a lot of incentive for Michigan, especially, you know, Bama absolutely could beat Georgia. I'm with you. I think, you know, if Michigan has a chance to run it up, they're absolutely going to do it.
We are talking to PJ Glasser, part of the BetQL Network. You hear him on Send It In. We'll tell you more about that, where you can get more PJ content. As we start to look at the NFL here, PJ, and it's different for us here in Western New York, like, we don't have to be stressed out. And, well, if you can watch every game, why not play a little action on these games as we can do in New York State? Cardinals and Steelers. Now, this is kind of the outsider view. Oh, the Steelers always play down to their competition, and they're coming off a win, and Cardinals are getting 5.5. How do you view this game in Pittsburgh coming up Sunday?
I like Arizona, Gene. You know, they got blown out last week against the Rams, but we were talking about that game last week. The Rams just own Arizona in Arizona. They won 9 straight there against them. Arizona hasn't beaten them since 2013 back at home. So I really don't look too much into that game. This is really all about, I don't trust the Steelers to beat a team by 6 points. Their offense finally was able to gain some yards last week without Matt Canada, but they still only put up 16 points. I think going up against a capable quarterback like Kyler Murray, they could have some issues in this game. So, you know, it's a tough spot for Pittsburgh as well, Gene. They're coming off 2 straight divisional games against the Bengals and the Browns. Everybody knows how physical those AFC North matchups are. You got a short week upcoming when you play on Thursday against New England. So I think this is a nice spot for Arizona to keep it close. We'd even take them on the money line, plus 200 as well.
Yeah, it's one of those games we'll be able to watch. And certainly Red Zone, another game in that early window, is going to be the Texans taking on the Broncos. And this is one that if Houston... they're going to be a playoff team. You should be able to beat Denver at home. Denver's getting the 3.5 over/under set at 47. Are the Houston Texans mature enough to beat Denver, PJ?
I think they are, Gene. Huge game, like you said, for the AFC wildcard. I mean, think about Denver. If they win this game, they're going to have tiebreakers over Houston, Cleveland, who they beat last week, and Buffalo, who they beat on Monday night. Those are
thanks, PJ. Yep, that's great. Thanks for reminding me.
Sorry,
but go ahead. There. Yeah, appreciate
that. I'm
that.
not going to be a popular guy on this radio. But Gene, this line just doesn't make sense to me. Like, Jacksonville was favored by 2 last week at Houston. Houston lost, and now they're 3.5-point favorites against Denver. I think Jacksonville is a better team than Denver, but should the line movement really be that drastic? It feels like Houston should be like a -2 in this game. So, I mean, I would have loved Denver at +3. The fact that we're getting them at +3.5, maybe it's fool's gold. Maybe it's too good to be true. I do think Houston wins the game, but, man, that Denver defense has been forcing a ton of turnovers. Russ is taking care of the football. They've won 5 straight. I think this game is going to be a 3-point game. So give me Denver +3.5.
In the late afternoon window, 2 teams that I think I'm having trouble figuring out what direction they're going to go, because you could tell me, hey, the Rams are going to really, march their way to the playoffs and they're going to pull it together, or they're going to fall apart. Same thing with Cleveland. We're on their offense kind of held together by bubble gum, but you have Myles Garrett basically playing with only one shoulder now. It looks tempting, the Browns getting 3.5 on the road, and what if the Browns would like is just kind of an ugly game here. Am I thinking wrong here, taking the Browns in 3.5, PJ?
Not at all, Gene. That's the way I'm going, too, especially because, the quarterback for the Browns could be Joe Flacco, Gene, and what's not to love there? We get the hook in this game against L.A. You said it, though. Their defense, man. Gene, like, we watched P.J. Walker and that Cleveland defense beat San Francisco, right? So if they can do that, I think they can hang around in this game. I also love looking, Gene, when we get these divisional matchups, AFC North against NFC West. I know I just gave out the Cardinals against the Steelers, but you look at the AFC North and what they have done to the NFC West this season. Think about what the Ravens did to the Seahawks. The Bengals went 4-0 this season against the NFC West. We watched the Steelers go into L.A. and beat this Rams team. The Browns, as I mentioned, beat San Francisco. They should have beaten Seattle if it wasn't for an interception in the late second. So AFC North's the best division in football, and those teams are really good. I don't think we account for that when they go out of division. I don't care who's playing quarterback, Gene. We're getting the hook in this game. That defense is going to carry them. Give me the Browns plus the points And I take a money line. I think they win this game.
One more I want to throw at you. It's the Niners and Eagles, like the main course, right? We will be having dinner after this game. You really love football. It's a 4:25 kickoff in Philadelphia, NFC Championship rematch. The Niners are getting 3, so San Francisco getting points, albeit against a team with only 1 loss, and that looks very tempting. PJ, how do you see this game, Niners and Eagles?
All right, Gene. So the Eagles are 10-1. They're 3-point home dogs. The Niners, I think, are the best team in football. When they're fully healthy, nobody's been able to beat them. Nobody's really even come close to beating them. Obviously, they want revenge because they feel like if Purdy didn't get hurt, they would have played in the Super Bowl last year. I love fading those revenge narratives when everybody thinks that the team that lost wants to get their payback. I know the Eagles got their payback against Kansas City, but look at what it took. I mean, MVS dropped the game winner. Mahomes threw a red zone pick. Kelsey fumbled in the red zone. I don't have to tell you how lucky the Eagles are. I mean, how they won that game last week is just beyond ridiculous. So I still like Philadelphia +3 as home dogs. Gene, I mean, they've gotten outgained by 100 or more yards in their last 4 games, and they keep finding ways to win all these games. I think similar thing's going to happen. San Francisco's going to dominate. They're going to look like the better team. And then you look up in the fourth quarter, and Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are just going to find a way to keep this game close. At 2.5, it's probably a stay away. But now that we're getting that 3, I think it's got to be Philadelphia. So give me the Eagles. Huge game. I mean, if the Niners win, they're only 1 game back of Philly for that 1 seed in the NFC, and they'd have the tiebreaker. Philly travels to Dallas next week. Massive, massive game for both teams. So I think it's going to be close. I like Philadelphia +3.
Yeah, I'm already looking ahead for fantasy purposes, PJ, because if the Eagles get this game, all right, then you're almost thinking like week 17 for championship week. They might be resting guys by that point. Number 1
big
seed.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they'd have a 3-game lead over San Francisco, essentially. They'd have a chance, especially if they win next week, Gene. I mean, their season would pretty much be wrapped up. They get Seattle after Dallas on the road. And then after that, it's like 2 games against the Giants, and it's Arizona. I mean, they're going to win the final 3 games of their season. So this really is the big one. That's why we like Buffalo so much last week, and the Bills were right there. They should have won the game, but that was the game to fade the Eagles. I think this game, I mean, they know how important this is. They know what it means to have the playoffs run through Philadelphia in the NFC. So I think the Niners are the best team in football. Like I said, I think they absolutely could win this game, but this is going to have a playoff-like feel to it, and I think getting that key number 3, it's got to be the Eagles for me.
PJ, one game I want to just kind of get your thoughts on, just Cincinnati and Jacksonville. Cincinnati's getting 8.5. Maybe they run the ball, the Bengals do, because they've got that offensive line. They've got the running backs, that offensive line. They've added some additions. I like that tackle they got. He started on Baltimore, went to Kansas City, and then who am I thinking of there? The offensive tackle for the Bengals, PJ.
Yeah, Orlando Brown Jr., Gene. We love Orlando's a really good player. You know, it's a tough game. I think the teaser's probably the best way to go in that game, teasing the Jags from 8.5 to 2.5. Gene, I think there are a lot of good teaser options for people out there this week. The Jags at 2.5. Teasing Kansas City down to a pick'em against Green Bay. They're -6. I think teasing Tennessee up to +7 against the Colts, divisional home dog. They've already seen them once before this season. Gardner Minshew's outside. So, you know, don't be afraid to play teasers. As we know, 8.5 is a lot of points in the NFL. The Bengals are just such a tough team for me to bet right now, Gene, because they know they're not winning the Super Bowl. They know they're not winning the division. They know they're probably not making the playoffs without Burrow. So when is the point in the season? When's going to be their dream crusher? Like, what's going to be that game that finally sticks a fork in them? They knew the importance of that game last week against Pittsburgh. They lose that. It's like if Jacksonville gets up on them 14-3, are they going to keep fighting? Or are they going to work their way back in this game with Jake Browning? I don't know. So I don't want to touch the spread. I just tease Jacksonville under the field goal and take a -2.5.
PJ, send it in. Tell everybody about it. And also, like on Sunday, if you're like me, I call it, Dan, Man Command, where I've got monitors. And then, well, I'm going to put on my computer screen. You can put up PJ. Like, you're still doing that show on Sundays, correct?
Still doing the Sunday show, Gene. Yeah, that's 1 to 5 Eastern time over at MGM National Harbor. We're at the BetMGM Sportsbook. You can watch us on twitch.tv/BetQL. And then at that same place, you can also watch my show, Send It In, 1 to 1:30 on the weekdays. Like you said, I mean, great week of sports, Gene. We got college football championship weekend, NFL week 13, college basketball, ACC, SEC challenge going on, NBA. So we talk everything. It's a live interactive show. We love for people to chime in, give us their comments and bets. And it's fast-paced, 30 minutes. We go through everything. So hope people can join us on twitch.tv/BetQL.
BJ, love the format. Love always you joining us on a Wednesday. And next time we talk, we're going to get your thoughts on Buffalo, Kansas City here next week, PJ.
Yeah, Gene. Looking forward to that. Thanks for having me as always. Have a good rest of your week.
All right, thanks. PJ Glasser, your host on BetQL. Always having some fun. And yes, my apologies to Scott Van Pelt. We completely ripped off your bit. But in fairness, it happened completely organically. I think we have the Rapinoe cut there. With I heard that wait. Do we have that, Dan?
Oh, I don't think we have it in the system. I have to look it up.
Do. All right, no, that's all right. No, see, Dan, do you remember this? Like we're just talking one day, and this was about the Women's World Cup before everything went south, just previewing it. And I looked at Danger what do you call Megan Rapinoe? No, we can't find it.
No, we don't have it.
All
Sorry.
right, it's around there somewhere, but it's okay. We've got a lot planned here. Some quick thoughts here on the other side. We've got Joe Yurden joining us next hour from the Bleacher Report, as we'll talk some NHL. We've got some Nighthawks talk also planned out here, as we are Rochester's one and only local sports talk show.
Best looking.
Now that you're here and Danger's not. Dan DeLorean today. You can check it out here. Dan on the camera. I'll put you on camera there.
I'll wait for Hey, everybody.
Okay, there
Hi.
we go. There
Hi.
he is. There he is. Dan DeLorean joining us today. Danger still out with the corona. We will be back with you next year on The Fan.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your Home by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
You know, Rochester has really done a nice job over the last few years of, you know, working with players and helping develop players. And so, yeah, he understood. He was good. He was positive. He asked questions, which is what you want.
That's Kevin Adams talking about about the job basically that Seth Appert and his staff are doing, and as well as Devin Levi coming down. And we had the audio in the sports update earlier. Levi, like, he's a smart kid, and I can call him a kid. He's 21. And we were talking with Seth Appert yesterday. It is one of the positions in sports that's really mental. Mm-hmm. You just really have to be mentally tough. And I would imagine this isn't anything any athlete would want. However, UPL's a guy right now. Like, we can call, and that is a positive thing for Buffalo. Finally, you have a goaltender. Maybe this changes. Maybe in 10 days we're like, we're back to, maybe there's a, well, right now you need to get Levi the work. So I think it's positive. We'll talk more hockey coming up here with Joe Yerdon from the Bleacher Report next hour. We'll also talk some on Nighthawks. Kind of cool that Ethan O'Connor was a free agent with Buffalo. They won the championship, and he decided to come here. Why? Was it money? I mean, I don't know. Was it a relationship? Was it the opportunity? He's like, I think he works out in Buffalo. So we'll talk to Ethan O'Connor as we'll try to, get you all set for the home opener coming up against Calgary coming up on Saturday night. If you were with us yesterday, Dan, thank you it was a little different yesterday because, peek behind the curtain here. Like, sometimes we have personal things going on, and my son, Kyle, went into the National Technical Honor Society.
Congratulations.
Which is like, and for those kids, like, they're kind of people like, oh, you're not going to go to college, you look down. No. Like, if you want to learn a trade, go learn a trade. And my son is really dead set on being a carpenter. So I was, very proud. And, of course, the ceremony started at 6 yesterday. So that's where, okay, so that's why we replayed the Matt Perino. Normally it would have been like, okay, Danger would kind of take it himself if I have to get somewhere. You're going to be like a parent first and foremost. You got to do those things. But Danger was out, and I didn't want to kind of throw you, hey, Dan, last night, I'm sure you would have loved that. But I'm like, let's kind of do that.
Some hot sense talk.
But here's my non-sports talk today. And they did a wonderful job of the ceremony. But then every ceremony like this has the one word I wish that would be shot into the sun. You hear it in ads, and you hear it just in formal settings like this, and nobody ever uses the word. Like, if I had to ask you, what word in the English language...
I think I know what you know.
What word in the English language just drives you nuts whenever you hear it?
Complimentary.
That's close. That's close. No, but you could use that in a sentence. There's a couple for me. One, when you're driving down the road. Okay, you gotta need a place to stay. Okay, motels. Why doesn't it say motels? It doesn't say lodging. Like, I've never ever used the word lodging. That drives me nuts. This is the other word. Refreshments. We have some refreshments for everybody. Refreshments. Like, I understand, you're doing this school ceremony. That's nice, the coffee and the cookies. But why not just say coffee and cookies rather than refreshments? Be direct with the community. Like, refreshments are one of those words that drive me nuts. And if you are a copywriter for advertising, never, ever, ever use the word refreshments. Like, hey, come on down here. We're going to have this seminar on a timeshare rental, and there'll be refreshments. I wasn't going to go to that timeshare seminar, but now that you told me there's going to be refreshments. Anyhow, we got Joe Yerdon, who we can relive the old days here, Dan. It's kind of embarrassing to admit this, and I admitted it on the air. Danger won't let me forget, but years ago, Joe worked at WGY in Albany, and that was the news talk station, and I worked here, and there's a guy in town, if you Rochester sports talk listener, his name was Brad Davies, right? He's down in Houston now. He's out of the business altogether. He's selling real estate. But then John DiTullio. Well, then I was the backup guy. And part of the job was, and this was the beginning of cost cutting and consolidation and everything, that the Albany sports updates would be voiced by the Rochester sports guy. Like, okay. And so we would kind of hook up over, the phone here and just voice it over in the morning. And, you get in like 5 o'clock. Okay, what's going on with the River Rats? What's going on with Siena basketball? What's going on with all this other stuff? And then you would do the 2-minute report. And every day I would do this, there would be a guy at 5 a.m. I'd be talking to him. There's a guy named Joe. Never knew his last name. Never knew that was Joe Yurden. Joe Yurden would leave Albany. He would go and become the successful writer today, writing nationally for Bleacher Report. And, I always feel like I got to apologize to Joe. I wasn't big. You have an excuse at 5 a.m. not to have your proper manners or anything like that. And it wasn't anything like, okay, thanks, bye. That would be about it. And then I realized later, oh my gosh, that was you? Joe Yurden will join us next. And by the way, 4:05, much better time to talk to Joe Yurden than 5 in the morning. We have a sports update as well. Mike Danger is under the weather once again today. My name is Gene Battaglia, along with Dan Drummey. And this is The Fan Rochester.
With Tim Hortons 2 hot breakfast sandwiches.
on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Rochester Americans up in Belleville, Ontario, Friday and Saturday, and goaltender Devin Levi should see some action, as according to head coach Seth Appert telling us yesterday here in the sports bar. GM Kevin Adams of the Sabres on Levi.
Just feel like this is an opportunity for him to get in a rhythm, get sharpened up, even through some more structured practice reps, and that's something that we have the luxury, the ability to do right now, and I think it's the right decision at this time.
Sabres tomorrow night playing in St. Louis. Joe Yurden from the Bleacher Report will join us next year in the sports bar. Season opener for the Rochester Nighthawks coming up Saturday. Ethan O'Connor joins us later this hour. From the NFL, Browns quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson is in concussion protocol. If he can't go, it'll be Joe Flacco at quarterback against the Rams this week. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Our buy is as late as it's ever been in my career in the NFL, and so I think it's needed. Guys can get away a little bit.
Aaron Rodgers, Mike Danger.
So what are we talking about, Gino?
Gene Battaglia.
We'll talk some Sabres. We'll talk some Mavericks.
What a save by Levi!
He's going to have the opportunity to come down and just grow his game. But Brendan Barrow is getting called up now because you have an extra spot.
It is Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and FSU atop the latest non-binding CFP rankings. Ohio State is now 6.
Oh, who cares?
If any of you have problems with the rankings, please fight me.
So what are we actually rooting for? Chaos, upsets.
Yeah.
We want to see upsets.
I guess I like chaos, and I do like Nick Saban.
It's Alabama every week. Bobby Petrino is headed back to Arkansas.
The NBA Cup quarterfinals are set.
I love it. My name is Gene Battaglia. The Dandelion on the board today.
The Dandelion.
We'll probably get back to the regular scheduled program next Monday.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, as Danger remains out under the weather. Appreciate everybody sending along their well wishes. He's going to be fine. Just he needs another day off today. I did talk to him on the phone today, and it's kind of a reminder that it's that time of year we all kind of get sick, and you got flu, you have COVID. You just got to take care of yourself. So hopefully Danger can join us remotely tomorrow. G. Battaglia with you. Producer Dan Drummy joining us as well. And on the phone, I'd like to call him this long-lost old friend. I guess maybe. Joe, was I big-leaguing you, or was I just more oblivious? I mean, I feel really guilty that we didn't get to know one another talking at 5 a.m. over the phone all those years ago from WGY in Albany.
I'm not going to say you were big-leaguing because the chances are I was barely awake myself. So, Lord knows there were enough mornings where I was probably calling you way too late and scrambling because our show went on at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, our sports update's coming in 10 minutes. I got to hurry up, G, go.
Yeah, and I just remember always being in a panic because I had no idea what was happening with Siena women's basketball or the Albany River Rats or whatever the heck was going on in the Capital District. But you now on the other side of the state. How's everything going, Joe?
Things are good. It's a bit of a busy day in Saberland, that's for sure. But yeah, aside from that, everything's good.
Yeah. So the news today: Byro going up, Kulik coming down, and staying is Rosane. Or not, you can't say coming down anymore, Joe. He's loaned. Yeah. When did this change? When did I miss that we couldn't say, once upon a time a coach was fired, now you have to say was relieved of his duties. When did this become a thing that the player being sent down all of a sudden is you're loaning him?
Those PR classes are really paying off for everybody, I got to say. I can remember getting my broadcasting mass comm degree, and we had to take a PR class, and softening the blow is always a good idea when the news could be perceived as negative. And I don't know. I love the phrasing. We all know what it means. I get it. It makes it kind of funny to the rest of us, but I don't know. I look at it. I look at the AHL is the second best league in the world as far as I'm concerned. So sending a guy from the NHL, the best league in the world, to the AHL, I guess that's a demotion. I suppose that it is, but they're still playing really great hockey in one of the best leagues in the world. So it's fine. It's fine for what it is. But softening the blow, saying loaned as opposed to demoted or sent down or whatever. Whatever. It's all the same to us. We know what's going on. We know what's happening.
Yeah, we know. I still have questions though. Like, number one, okay, so Devin Levi coming down, whatever way you want to phrase it. What's the timelines here, Joe? Like, how long do you think we might have Levi in Rochester?
Well, I think a lot of that hinges on his performance in Rochester, for one. And it hinges on the performance of both Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Eric Comrie in Buffalo as well. I think all of these things are interconnected. Obviously, Sabres GM Kevin Adams spoke with us this morning about not just Devin going to Rochester, but a host of other topics. But Devin was first and foremost because the thought going into the year was he was going to be in Buffalo until until he got hurt or something bad happened. And I wouldn't necessarily say something bad's happened here. He's a rookie. He's 21 years old. He's playing professional hockey for the first time for a full season, and it's hard. It's really hard to be a goalie in the NHL, especially when you've only got a handful of games experience doing so. And it's such a difficult thing to do. And for a guy his age to go to Rochester to play games, I know people are going to look at it and be like, I wasn't ready, he's toast, blah, blah, this, that, and the other thing. Forget that. Forget all of that. Like, this is the best thing for him right now, because if you keep him in the NHL and you're playing him one game a week and he struggles in that one game a week and he's just kind of hanging out, and the experience of being with the big club is great, and you learn a lot of things, and you're picking up a lot of stuff by being around everybody, but he needs games. Like, that's the biggest thing. And getting him those games, getting him those reps, and getting him those practice sessions too, that's just as important. He's going to get all of that in Rochester because the schedule for the Sabres coming up is kind of tight. The practice sessions are going to be fewer. The games are tight. There's no easy game in the NHL. I know this all sounds like it sounds like spin doctoring, but like, honestly, for a guy 21 years old to play in the AHL, and he's going to play a ton of games, this could not be a better situation, especially because Rochester's a really good team.
Yeah, and they were a really good team last year, Joe. And that's and I think it was, my take on it is, well, that was then, this is now. And that was then, like, hey, why wasn't he on the Clear Day roster? Well, he kind of earned his stripes. And now, well, he needs the work because it's about development. Well, wasn't it about development? Didn't he need the work back then? I guess, can we second guess that at all, Joe?
I guess you can. The whole, if you wanted to get him involved with the Amerks during the playoff run last year, you would have required like a PTO or an ATO or something like that. And I think after a full college season and then, carrying the Sabres on his back, to the end of the season to nearly get them in the playoffs, I think they were okay with giving him a break, even though might have been helpful to see him in the playoffs, although I would argue goaltending wasn't really the problem for the Amerks in the playoffs. I think it was they ran into a veteran team in the end. Like, that was the struggle there. But would have been cool. Would have been cool to see him get to jump right into the fire there. But at this point right now, I get that some of the outside stuff from the get-go made it seem like Levi was going to be in Buffalo. Listen, if he played the way he did last season and kept going like that, maybe doesn't get hurt, and everything that went into his lack of success so far this season, maybe he stays in Buffalo and they're still going a 3-goalie rotation. Whatever, I'm not sure, but. A guy his age on an entry-level contract, he's got that ability to go to Rochester and get work and get his game better and, win over all the fans in Rochester by being a stud goalie. Like that to me is the exciting part seeing him go down. And I'm sure Sabres fans, there might be some frustration there, but you know what? Luukkonen's kind of making that go away. And it's not like Levi's going down to Rochester and they're left with nothing in Buffalo. Things are kind of going okay here.
Yeah, that's want to ask you about that and a bunch of other Sabres stuff. Joe, you're joining us. I had one other question about the Amherst. It's actually related to today's moves. So Cooley comes back, Byro goes up, and Rosane stays up. So I guess, can we read it? Like, why did Cooley come down, I guess, as opposed to Rosane?
I want to think that that maybe the age is a fact. Maybe the age is a slight factor because he is 19, and there's that part of it. Maybe it's the total game factor. Maybe it's because they don't want to play him on a fourth line unit here. I think that might be a bigger part of it because Sabres' top six right now is playing awfully well, playing pretty good hockey, and I think that's more the spot you want to have a guy like Kulich in there. And even their third line has played very well now. Victor Olofsson's playing very well again, so you don't want to really kind of mess around with things too much when these guys are going. So playing Kulich in a fourth line role is probably not going to get the best use out of him. And that's not the role you want a guy with his skill set playing. Yes, he's improved his all around game and everything in Rochester, but if you're getting him games in the NHL, you want to put him in a position to be able to generate offense and to score goals, and that's not the line that he's going to get that from. I think with Rosane, playing him with Olofsson, playing him with Tyson Jost, I think that's a pretty solid spot for him because Rosane, he showed us last season. He showed us, especially in the playoffs, you can knock this guy around. You can get physical with him. He's just going to bounce right back, and he's going to play. He's going to come right back at you. And we've seen that a little bit already in the couple of games that he's played. So I think it's worth getting a longer look at him while they've got him. So we'll see how this lineup shakes out. With Jordan Greenway getting back in and whatnot, and we'll see how this gets handled. But I get trading out Byro for Kulich because Byro gives you the stronger two-way game. And he's a darn good player. It's not like you're sending a guy that can't play up to Buffalo just to kind of ride it out on the bench. He can play.
So, Joe, you're our guest here, and a lot of things, coming out of today. The Sabres in St. Louis tomorrow night. We'll get to some more of those injury notes, but I think this is an interesting way. I'm going to be looking at how Kevin Adams manages this. The question about Zach Benson and the World Juniors, and let me kind of give this as a backdrop for folks who may not follow this all that closely, because quite honestly, I didn't follow it all that closely until this is like 4 years ago. I was up in Ottawa while the World Juniors were going on. Joe was on every monitor. I mean, up there in Canada, the World Juniors are, if you had to pick things in Canada, they're way bigger stories than here. That would probably be number one on the list. Here, it's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of going on. And, oh, it's in Buffalo. That's really nice. Up there, it's a big, big deal. So if in Canada, if they're saying, hey, we want Zach Benson, it's like, it's not their God-given right to get Zach Benson, right? You're Kevin Adams. You're giving a stiff arm to this.
Yeah, Kevin was pretty diplomatic in how he answered that question today about what's going to happen with Benson, because the World Junior camps are coming up pretty soon, within a couple of weeks, anyways. The World Juniors start December 26th, so things get going pretty quickly with that, which I can't believe it's December this week. That's blowing my mind. Never mind that, but I mean, World Juniors are coming, and listen, Benson's 18 years old. And 18-year-olds playing a World Juniors, that's pretty common. I got to think it's the under-20 tournament, so usually there's a lot more guys that are 20 and 19 years old that kind of get priority in that. Which I think maybe Matt Savoy is a guy we're going to see on Canada. Probably should have been there last year.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with all that, but I mean, Benson has to be sky high on their list because he's playing so well at 18, and they're not going to get Adam Fantilli back. They're not going to get Connor Bedard back. Those guys aren't going to World Juniors. I think Canada wants to believe that they could get Zach Benson, but geez, the way Benson's playing and the way that he is contributing to the Sabres attack and the way his all-around game is so good right now unless the Sabres want to get a longer look at somebody else, like, I don't know, maybe a Roseanne, maybe Kulich, maybe that's how you make that work. I can't see them letting Benson go. I think Benson's played far too well. I think he's pretty important to this lineup right now. You don't want to throw all this stuff on the shoulders of an 18-year-old to say that he's vital to this group, but like he's playing on the second line. He's playing with Cousins and Peterka. Like, that's the last few games we've seen those guys together. They've been really fun. They've been creating a lot of chances. They're really good, and Benson himself is very good. So Adam said he's going to do the right thing for Benson and he's going to do the right thing for the Sabres, which to me tells me there's not a chance in the world he's going to go play for Canada.
No, you need him to win games. Very simple. Like you're not doing like a 1 point may be the difference. Joe Yurden joining us here. Injury updates, he gave a few today. So Jordan Greenway, do we see him soon? And what about the mystery around Tage Thompson here? What is the timeline, Joe?
Well, it looks like Greenway's going to be back. That's why Yuri Kulich is coming back to Rochester. Greenway was away with a personal, dealing with a personal matter, so he's going to be back in to the lineup, and that is, I think that's fine. I think that's why you get that's why Byro comes up, because it just gives them a little, pads out their Granato's ability to kind of pick and choose who he wants to get in the lineup, all that stuff. With Thompson, the things are progressing very well. I think the timeline is about where it's supposed to be. Give him a couple more weeks, give him a few more weeks here, and let him get back up to speed and be able to get to get on the ice with the guys eventually here and get her going with that. So that's good to see. But it's, listen, whatever the injury is, I know they said it's upper body. It's probably something, wrist, hand, whatever it is. Whatever happened there, that takes time. And for a guy that hockey, you got to handle the stick. That's going to take a little bit of time to make sure everything's right, so that he can get back and be 100%.
The signing of Patrick Kane to the Detroit Red Wings, and it wasn't for a lot of money. Surprised? Thoughts on Kane going to Detroit? I mean, Joe, I was hoping he'd go somewhere where it might not haunt the Sabres here.
Not too surprised. He and Alex DeBrincat worked out so well together in Chicago when they were teammates, and that was a big draw for Kane to go there, and I totally get that. Detroit didn't have to do any sort of salary cap shenanigans to try to get him in and get him under the cap. They had plenty of space to be able to pay him, so that takes away a big problem there. Listen, we know all about the Sabres and how they're pushing for the playoffs. Detroit's in that same kind of spot. Their playoff drought, not nearly as long as Buffalo's. Let's be real here. Not nearly as long, but with the legacy the Red Wings have had, missing the playoffs for more than a few seasons really gets under everybody's skin pretty quick. So, with Yzerman in charge and, his entire history with the organization, he's not really eager to wait around anymore. And their prospects and everything are right. They're already in the NHL. They're here ready to play, and their young guys are good and going. So they could stand to add another veteran guy to the lineup, and getting a guy like Kane, which, listen, there's 1,000 question marks about how he's going to come back from the hip resurfacing surgery. It's a risk worth taking. It's a 1-year deal. If it doesn't work and he can't get it going after the surgery, hey, fine. You can live with it and move on and head off into the future. But if he comes back and he's good, that's a huge add. That is a huge add to that lineup, and that really that can alter the way things set up within the Atlantic Division for how the playoff picture is going to look and the wild card picture, all that stuff. That really changes things.
Joe, last one, and Danger Tech. He's under the weather, but he was texting me last night because we were on the air yesterday, and reading the press release about Corey Perry's release, I'm like, boy, that's really strongly worded. Talk about PR. Here's PR PR advice, okay? If you're going to make a comment, don't talk about the rumors that more than half the people don't know about, because honestly, I didn't know these rumors. Then you go look up in the rumors like, And I don't know if it's responsible to talk about these rumors or not, but can you assess the situation? What in the world is going on with Chicago and Corey Perry?
That entire thing is, I can't recall a situation like this at all, like in recent history. If there's something that slipped in my mind, that's on me. But the way Chicago's GM spoke about that entire thing yesterday, it was very clear. He's again, how much of this is PR, how much of this is real, like whatever. But he seemed very upset about what had happened, what had gone on. Now, he made it clear that he could not elaborate on anything. They've done and doing their own internal investigation, blah blah blah. But whatever it was, they didn't inform the team about, like, his teammates about it. So they do not know what's going on with it. Which is kind of like, I can recall, working in different places, and we were told that somebody was being let go, and we're like, hey, what happened? And they're like, we're not going to discuss that. I'm like, okay, great, cool, great. Is it something we need to know about?
Nope.
Like, no.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, good enough for us, I suppose. I guess we'll just keep on working. But whatever this was, whatever happened, they said it's an internal thing. It's an work office related type situation. Whatever it was worth it to them to waive him and nullify the contract. But it wasn't enough to get outside authorities involved in looking into it as well. So to me, I'm trying to think of the things that fit into that gray area of, like, what could possibly cause this, and, like, it's the kind of thing that lets your imagination run wild, and I think that's what we're going to be stuck with, is trying to think of, like, what the heck happened here, unless something else comes of this and we learn about it. But it's a very odd situation, especially with a guy with his career, with his the amount of years he's been in the league. Obviously the on ice persona is that of, like, a guy you just don't. He's the last guy you want to run into on the ice, because it's probably going to be a bad time. But this is a guy that was like a borderline Hall of Fame candidate. Honestly,
does he get another chance, Joe?
I think without anybody really knowing what happened, I can't imagine so. But Chicago seemed to be taken very aback by this, and listen, I know their entire history. I know everything with Kyle Beach, all that stuff. They acted very quickly about this whole thing, because this whatever happened in Columbus, and, like, that was, like, 4 or 5 days ago, whatever it was, and they moved quick to be like, all right, he's away from the team, he's gone, and now he's really gone. So whatever it was bad enough for them to act very quickly, to investigate fast, and to get him out of there. So I don't know. It could be any number of things, and I am not one that wants to really speculate on any of it. Even though the whole rumor thing, which is ridiculous, it was ridiculous in the first place. But if that was if that's the sort of thing that people thought that could get a guy's contract nullified, boy, oh boy, there's a whole lot of NHL history you got to get caught up on.
Oh yeah. That there's a lot of behavior. Joe, what can we check out this week? As we're heading to a weekend where the Sabres on the road at St. Louis and Carolina. What do you got working at Bleacher Report?
We're gonna be talking about a lot of Bleacher Report. We got all kinds of stuff going on there. I looked into the eight of the most surprising stories of the start of the season. I've got that's up there for everybody to check out today. Over at Noted Hockey, I'll be digging into Sabres goalie stuff. We'll be looking at how they play this weekend on the road. St. Louis and Carolina, those are two biggies. Nashville comes here on Sunday night. Sunday night game.
Yeah.
No Bills. That's why. Oy boy. But another busy weekend for them, and, like, these are going to be 3 very interesting games for them, because Carolina's own them, St. Louis is weird, and Nashville's kind of playing over their head, and old buddy Ryan O'Reilly's there. So hey, we'll see what happens.
Appreciate it very much, Joe. Thanks so much for your time today, and we'll do this again soon. Thanks, Joe.
You got it, Gene. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Joe, you're in Bleacher Report. it's always safe when you're reporting on rumors to go to like another media outlet. This is 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, saying that Penguins Tyler Kennedy says it's fishy. The rumors of the sexual activity between Connor Bedard's mom and Corey Perry happened during the mother's trip. So something happened on a Black Hawk. That is the rumor that's going on right now. And again, I'm just pointing out that, well, now this is a sports radio station in Pittsburgh that's actually talking about this. So when you have the number one overall pick, a rumor involved the mom. See, whether it's true or not, it's out there. Now, the whole PR on this, and Dan, you're just shaking your head. No.
We should be talking about how good Bedard's been playing this year, because he's been so exciting, and the Blackhawks have been better because of him. And they first opening night, they beat Pittsburgh. I should be talking about that and not some.
I get it. So it's one of those things like, okay, do we mention this? But this isn't internet chatter. That is an actual report out there.
No, I guess no comment.
That's fine. That's fine. No, I don't know either. I don't know either, but that's according to 93.7 The Fan that, again, something happened on a mom's trip.
Let's talk about Devin Levi.
No, let's talk Nighthawks.
Yes.
Okay. Switch gears there. Look, see, if Danger was in here today, he'd be having a field day with that. You better believe that as a Blackhawk fan. Like, he texted me last time. I'm like, dude, come on. Ethan O'Connor joining the Rochester Nighthawks, coming over from Buffalo. Why? Why join the Nighthawks? Well, we'll get Ethan's thoughts here. Nighthawks opening up on Saturday night. It's Battaglia and Drummer here on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams. Sports Update.
Hammocks are up in Belleville Friday and Saturday, and down with the team from Buffalo. Goaltender Devin Levi joining the team at practice today.
The goal of me being here is to be able to play. So personally, my plan is to play games, to practice hard, get better every day. Doesn't really matter where I am. My job's the same, stop the puck. So, I'm here to win games. I'm here to play my best and get better and have some fun doing it.
Don Stevens will have the call Friday night beginning at 7 o'clock. Saturday, it's a season opener for the Rochester Nighthawks as Calgary will be coming to the Blue Cross Arena. Ethan O'Connor, team defenseman, will be joining us next year in the Sports Bar. From the NFL Browns, quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson has a concussion. He's in the protocol. If he can't go, it'll be Joe Flacco at quarterback against the Rams this week. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Fired up for the Nighthawks as this franchise, since the rebirth here, taken step by step by step, as last year getting to the postseason, but getting knocked out by Buffalo. And again, like here in Rochester, we've got a different identity. Like, we love the major league teams. We love the Bills. We love the Sabres. Can't stand the freaking Bandits. Can't stand their fans. Can't stand the orange color. Cannot stand the fact that we went out to them. And I'm saying we, Dan, because to me, that's the one team I can feel like I'm a fan when I'm going out there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'd say it makes sense. But now this guy's on our team, and I love him. Ethan O'Connor joining us here in the Sports Bar. Ethan, how are you today?
Good. How you guys doing?
Yeah, doing great. So you're with Rochester now, winning a championship in Buffalo last year. Just kind of begs the question. What was it that drew you here? Why come over to the good side here, Ethan?
I ended up getting to free agency this offseason, and Dan Carey, GM of the Nighthawks, reached out, and he laid out a lot of good things. I think it's no surprise. We don't make you don't make enough to quit your day job. I'm sitting at M&T right now at work and doing the interview, and there's other things that I look into when I was going into that process, and Dan kind of laid out everything that I wanted to hear. And these first 3-4 weeks of training camp have really cemented what he said and more. So I'm really happy with that decision. But it goes into the group of guys that are already in the locker room. It goes into off-season decisions by the GM and who they bring in, who they let go, stuff like that. That you're looking, are they really doing what they told you, right? And that was something that connected well. So Dan Carey, not that I didn't think he was, but not a liar, right? He's a guy that's straight to you, going to tell you how it is, and I think built that trust quickly with during our conversations. And I do live in Buffalo, so I'm not too far away from Rochester. This is kind of a local market for me. I don't have to travel every weekend to get to the games, to the practice, what have you. So that's nice for my family to come up to the game. So it's just a lot of things went into the decision, and I think it's a testament to the organization for why I'm here now. Yeah,
and you know what? Credit, the Bandits. They finish up on a high note with you winning the championship. And I don't follow the Bandits as closely, but I think you're you're like the top guy contributor that's not coming back. So have you thought about that first game, January 13th, what that's going to be like going against your former team?
Yeah, it'll be fun. We kind of got a little bit of a taste of it in preseason. We played Buffalo in the preseason in Buffalo, so it was, I think, maybe there'll be I don't want to say nerves. I'm not really a nervous guy, but maybe some extracurriculars that I'll have to get out of the way, like saying hi, getting stopped in the hall, seeing all the old friends, and not just the players, but also the back, behind the scenes staff. Those will be the kind of the extra stuff that you've got to get out of the way to get your mindset ready for the game. But thankfully, I had a little bit of a taste of probably what that's going to feel like. Get that first stepping onto the floor in Buffalo again, and I think we'll be better off for it. And so I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, when you look at the offense for this team here, and like your first kind of glimpse here now that you're on this side, Connor Fields up front, what do you think? When you take a look here at the Nighthawk roster, what do you see this year here, Connor? Ethan?
Yeah. So I think I talked about the decisions that I'm in the team, and part of it was the players that are on the roster. And at this point in my career, I was talking to my wife, talking to my family, and what are my goals going forward? And one of that is winning, right? This is my 10th, 11th year in the league, and I don't think I go to a team that I don't think can win. And the players on the floor, the players on the roster are guys that have bright futures. They're younger than probably the teams I played on in the past, but Connor Fields he's a guy I played with a little bit in Buffalo, and a guy that I worked out with every year or every day for 2 years, and he's a guy that I'm really excited to play with. Ryan Smith is an absolute load and a difficult guy to play against, and he's only going to get better in his third year in the league. So a lot of guys that I see on paper or I've played against that are difficult to play against were guys that I want on my team now.
Nighthawks defenseman Ethan O'Connor, our guest here in the Sports Bar. As you mentioned it, and I read the article too, that you've got the successful career. M&T Bank, you were an economics major at Hobart, so it's something you were kind of preparing for all along. I guess the question is, it's tough with one career. How on earth do you balance two, Ethan?
It doesn't. You can't do it without one, the family support. So you got dogs. Think of a big one right here. If I'm going away for the weekend, who's watching the dogs? Thankfully, I have my beautiful wife Dakota, or my family. We can always drop them off. They're super supportive. But other than that, M&T, the company I work for, is they're awesome with it. I've never had an issue. I think I've been with M&T now almost 6 years, and I've never once had a vacation or a kind of hey, I've got to practice tomorrow that I forgot about. Can I leave early? Denied. It's always been, yeah, you're good to go. They're almost as excited for games and practices and just being a part of the NLL as I am. So it's just having a good support system. I couldn't do it myself.
So what do you do for M&T? Is it behind the scene? Are you helping with businesses, or is it individuals? What is it you do for the bank?
Yeah, so I actually just started a new role maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I work in the commercial product side of the bank now. So it's a back office role. We support the products that our commercial customers will use, just to kind of get real high level with that.
Yeah, well, listen, you went to, which is a very good school, Hobart, and for folks who don't know, that is a Division I school. That's the rule when you can play up at the Division I level, and I wish more schools would do this, but when you were playing lacrosse at Hobart, Ethan, at what point did it kind of cross your mind, you know what, maybe I could do this professionally?
Yeah, so I started playing lacrosse when I was 3 years old. I'm 33 now. It's been 30 years of lacrosse. I'm originally from Canada, just outside Toronto, and you start playing young, indoor. I grew up playing box lacrosse. I didn't start playing field lacrosse until I was probably 12 or 13. And you grow up, and the college route is great. And when you can compete with some of the bigger guys, the big name schools, like Hobart's, I would say in competitive scheme, was never a top school, but my senior year, we beat Syracuse, we beat Colgate, we beat Bellarmine, who were all top 20 teams at the time. And when you can compete with teams like that, you're like, all right, yeah, it's not a far-fetched idea to think that I can push this further, I can go to the next level. And then when school's done, up in Canada, you go play junior lacrosse. So I'm playing juniors as well, and playing senior lacrosse, which is indoor version of kind of like hockey would have juniors. There's box lacrosse juniors up in Canada, and I had some success in that, and I think that success bred some, me to kind of go to the combine, the NLL draft combine, getting in touch with other players that I could pick their brain, coaches in the NLL, and just keep building what the skills that I had. I was able to build it and grow a little bit more through these interactions, and everything that I was able to do between college and juniors kind of led to saying, I think I can do this. Now, I asked my parents when I was growing up, I laugh at them because they put me in lacrosse and kept me, supported me through that. And I tell them that they're misguided. They should put me in hockey where the real money was, and that ended up being an investment worthwhile. But no, they love it and they support it just as much as I enjoyed playing.
Yeah, you ever wonder what it would look like 50 years from now? Like, oh my gosh, what these lacrosse players. But Ethan, I swear, I was the sideline reporter like way back when, before they even did the arena over, and now just to see you're in Vegas and San Diego and some of these places where the sport wasn't even a thing 20 years ago. It really is exciting, and you feel like you're one of the forefathers here of the sport professionally.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say forefathers, but I think I got to see both sides of the NLL. I was in those. I wouldn't even say early years. The early years are like in the early '90s, but the early 2020s, late or mid 2010s. Got to join then, and then the league from then to now is night and day. One, the skill is incredible. It takes everything that I can do in the off season to keep up with the guys that are coming in, the kids that are coming in. Their skill level is incredible. But the leadership of the league, the leadership of who we're aligning ourselves with as a program, as a sport, has really been fortunate. They've got the right ownerships in. They've got the right sponsors in now, and those sponsors and those leaders grow the sport. You got to spend money to make money, but you got to have the right people directing the resources in the right way. And I think right now as a league we have that, where maybe we didn't originally when the NLL's first iterations were coming out. But now we have that, and the difference between 10 years ago and now is night and day, not just for the players, but also for, like you said, the locations, the grassroots, everything is growing. It's not just the players. It's not just the league. Everything's growing. The grassroots and the league is growing together.
Ethan O'Connor played for the Bandits last year, and you played for the Swarm when they were up in Minnesota. And it's not going to be the Swarm, or it's not going to be the Rock who drafted you. It's going to be Calgary coming in. So, a quick thought here on what we can kind of expect in the home opener Saturday night from this opponent, Ethan.
Last year they built their season they built their team around transition. So they've got an MVP goalie, Christian Del Bianco, he passes the ball like better than some offensive players. And they've got guys coming out their back end that I think they had 2 or 3 of the top point transition players in the league last year. So as a team, if we can limit their transition opportunities, I think we can match up well on the offensive and defensive side. And I think if we can do that, then we'll be successful.
Well, last one here, and I was talking to Craig Brzezinski, who I'm sure you've met. Mentioned you're kind of coaching in the summer league here, doing that. Is that could you see, like, after your playing days are done, doing something like that in the sport, Ethan? Yeah,
that's my ultimate goal. I love coaching. I love kind of party my knowledge. Like a better term, but no, I love coaching, and I've gotten into it a little bit right now in the grassroots, coaching here in Buffalo at a youth level and during the summer at a collegiate level. So we call it the Upstate Collegiate Box Lacrosse League. It's college-age players who play box lacrosse here in Rochester and Buffalo. So we're trying to mirror the junior programs that Canada has, and we're trying to create kind of a junior program for American kids that can't go to Canada during the summers. And the UCBL, this will be our 5th year, I believe. And we already have guys who are drafted, guys who are in camp, guys who have signed to rosters now. So we're growing. You can definitely see the growth in that league. And I'm a big believer that for the NLL to grow, we need more American players. And I think if I can give back in the coaching side of things here in Buffalo, here in the States, the NLL will only grow, and hopefully that leads to a coaching job, maybe in the NLL, and it starts with the youth, starts with the grassroots, and hopefully I can help build that.
Yeah, well, here's what I'm hoping selfishly, that you won a championship in Minnesota, you won one in Buffalo. Maybe we get one here. Ethan O'Connor, our guest here. Ethan, thanks for your time today. Very nice talking to you.
Yeah, no, it was great meeting you guys, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Ethan O'Connor, who will be on that Nighthawk defense coming up on Saturday night as joined by Dan Drummy. It's like, you got to get you out to a Nighthawk game. I got back into it last year.
I got to cover one a long time ago when I was still in college, and it was a championship game, and I forget who they beat, but it is a different experience. I mean, they have the music going mid-game, and it's back and forth. It almost has a hockey feel, but it's fast-paced, it's loud. It's
the only sport, too, where we here in Rochester get the top level. I agree with Joe Yerdon, what he said last hour. Like, hey, the AHL is the second best league in the world. Absolutely. But we don't control the roster, and we don't control our destiny. We're here to serve at the pleasure of our master, the Buffalo Sabres. That's just a fact. Where the Nighthawks, yes, they're still owned by the Bagulas, and they own the Bandits, but I think there is kind of a separation of church and state. I don't think the Bandits won at the Nighthawks' expense. Let's just put it that way. And maybe there will be someday something that between the two teams, but for now, it looks like both teams are trying to do what they set out to do, and that is actually win a championship. And I always think we're kind of like, I don't think of Buffalo and Rochester being that big a gap between Major League and Minor League. I know that, but to me, this is our opportunity, and that's why I really dig it when the Nighthawks go toe-to-toe with these teams from around the country. So thank you to Ethan O'Connor, defenseman. We will get some NFL news and notes, including one name that could be starting under center. Oh, and this is a team that is kind of farting around in the playoff race. It's actually good news for the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion. We could all use a little good news, right? The best barbecue in town. Easy, Dandelion. That's Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in East Rochester. Award-winning barbecue, lunch, dinner, catering, and a must-try weekday specials like Taco Tuesday, Wacky Wing Wednesday. Yeah, all that. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. You can call us on their Wingman line, 88664-FAN. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. The new location, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
And AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Just to get better every day, to find some rhythm, to get some games, see some shots, see some plays. Every game you get better and a little bit more experienced. So I think that's what this is. I think there's a reason that a lot of goalies go through the minors and then end up being very dominant in the NHL because they get that time under their belt. They're more ready for it. So this is one of those opportunities for me.
Devin Levi needs to play. That's why he's going to be here. For how long, who knows? But if you're Devin Levi, you make the decision really easy. Come here, ball out.
Ball out?
I don't know. What would be the ball out phrase for hockey?
I don't know. For his position, just stop pucks. Stop everything.
Yeah.
No goals.
Make it right. Like
no goals.
Just make it like, oh, what are you doing here? Okay, back up you go. But it's hockey. Sometimes the puck doesn't go your way. So Devin Levi, I think, is mature beyond his years. He's going to be fine. I'm not worried about Devin Levi's head or anything like that. And it's going to make it fun. December 8th, the team is going to be home. And, boy, with Devin Levi, holiday-ish sort of week here, and I'd hope that the barn would be packed for that night, especially since the team hasn't been here in a while. NFL appetizers here in the sports bar as stories we're chasing. Joe Flacco, quarterback 2, he could be starting. Turns out DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, is in concussion protocol. So what does that mean? Well, he's not taking reps today. It's Joe Flacco. He could be starting against the Rams. My goodness. The Cleveland Browns could be relying on Joe Flacco, of all people. Bailey Zappi, for what it's worth, taking the reps today for the New England Patriots. But Bill Belichick, of course, not saying anything. It's just kind of hilarious that, I guess... we're not worried about the Chargers in terms of the farting around playoffs. Especially since the Bills play the Chargers head to head. It's really one of those where I don't care who wins. I think it would be great if the Patriots lost, but if the Chargers lost, okay, then that would put them once and for maybe the coach gets fired finally if the Chargers.
I don't know how he hasn't been fired. I just don't get it.
Aaron Rodgers today practicing. This is just 11 weeks after tearing his Achilles. I got to credit Danger on this one. He was the first one. It's like, this is all BS. This is him with his stupid wordplay. And who is the one reporting that he tore his Achilles? Him, in a statement by the team. It's not like so you got to take him at his word, and because of HIPAA, you're not really doing any investigation. Like, he just reinvented science here. Also, Aaron Rodgers, liking tweets, by the way, calling sunscreen unnecessary. I'm like, oh, okay, that's our next thing we've kind of moved on to. Fantastic. Bills today, not really a story, but Jason Kelsey saying that Jordan Phillips should be fine, not for the altercation with the fans. And altercation's a strong word, I think. Just words were exchanged and security had to come over. No, talking about Jordan Phillips running over one of the guards there. We could talk about that coming up in happy hour. We have time for your calls. I've been talking a lot with guests today. It's now your turn. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Mike Danger once again on the IL. Hope that we get him back tomorrow. Along with the Dan DeLorean, my name is Gene Battaglia here on The Fan Rochester.
If you love looking at Christmas lights, then load up the car with the family and friends, grab some hot chocolate, and head to the Holiday Light Show at Victor Hills.
The experience of a 1.5-mile-long journey through the rolling wooded trails of Victor Hills Golf Club.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Interesting Hammer game coming up Friday night where goaltender Devin Levi expected to see action, if not Friday, definitely on Saturday up in Belleville. Head coach Seth Apper confirming that with the Sports Bar yesterday. GM Kevin Adams of the Buffalo Sabres today talking about the decision to send Levi down.
Just feel like this is an opportunity for him to get in a rhythm, get sharpened up, even through some more structured practice reps, and that's something that we have the luxury and the ability to do right now, and I think it's the right decision at this time.
Sabres also making another move. Yuri Kulik comes back to Rochester. Brandon Byro going up. Sabres in St. Louis tomorrow night. From the NFL today, Browns quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson in concussion protocol. If he can't go, it'll be Joe Flacco at quarterback against the Rams this week. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Our buy is as late as it's ever been in my career in the NFL, and so I think it's needed. Guys can get away a little bit.
Aaron Rodgers, Mike Danger.
So what are we talking about, Gino?
Gene Battaglia.
We'll talk some Sabres. We'll talk some Hammers.
What a save by Levi!
He's going to have the opportunity to come down and just grow his game. But Brendan Byro is getting called up now because you have an extra spot.
It is Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and FSU atop the latest non-binding CFP rankings. Ohio State is now 6.
Oh, who cares?
If any of you have problems with the rankings, please fight me.
So what are we actually rooting for? Chaos, upsets.
Yeah.
We want to see upsets.
I guess I like chaos, and I do like Nick Saban.
It's Alabama every week. Bobby Petrino is headed back to Arkansas.
The NBA Cup quarterfinals are set.
I love it.
My name is Gene Battaglia. The Dandelion on the board today.
The Dandelion.
We'll probably get back to the regular scheduled program next Monday.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Danger remains in the cave today. Hopefully he's got the energy tomorrow as he is battling COVID. Still a thing. Gene Battaglia with you. Dandelion on the board today. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good, Gino. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's like you're pulling the double shift. Appreciate you doing this. By the way, we will be out once again coming up Friday the 8th. Hope you can join us at Three Heads Brewing. It is going to be a fun time. I've got our SVPs already kind of coming in. And it's going to be one of those Fridays that when the show is over, we'll hang out a little bit afterward.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Maybe try some of that Nighthawk Hazy IPA. We appreciate the new guy on the team, the veteran, Ethan O'Connor, defenseman, joining us earlier in the show today as he came over from Buffalo, the free agent. We also talked earlier today, PJ Glasser, host of BetQL's Send It In. He pointed out something interesting. I think it's comical. Literally, the over-under per half for Iowa is half a point against Michigan. That's it? They score, you get the over? I've never even heard of that. Much less in a championship game. The window for this game, Michigan minus 22, over under at 35. That's hilarious. Good job by the conference making sure they got the two best teams in there. Iowa football. No, I have no use for Iowa football. But, when I get home from RIT hockey on Saturday night, I'm sure I'll be putting it on. By the way, we'll be talking to RIT head coach Wayne Wilson later. The Tigers splitting against the number 10 team, but coming within 5 seconds, winning sweeping New Hampshire. So Robert Morris will be coming in. We'll talk to head coach Wayne Wilson. A lot happening in the sports bar. And again, our number, 866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. You can also reach us on X, formerly known as Twitter. I haven't asked you this question in a while. Dan, your phone. Did you update it yet?
No, sir.
Can you show it on the camera here? I want to see this. I want to see proof.
See it? Okay.
I want to see show the proof here to everybody that is watching right now on YouTube and Twitch.
Okay, well, the Bird it's still the Bird app.
It's still the Bird app?
Still the Bird app there, if you can see that.
God, dude,
and
you
then
gotta.
I click on it, and it's still Twitter, so.
Yeah, dude, that's not right. You gotta update
still
your
Twitter.
apps.
No, sir.
Dude, at some point.
No, I will not. I refuse. I'll update every other app, and I will not update that one.
How long it's been? It's been like 6 months longer?
So I think it happened around training camp or right around training camp when we changed over to X, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. It's always going to be Twitter to me. Sorry.
You need security updates. You need those.
I can still update. I can update my apps individually, and I can still do software updates. But
you don't do the whole kit.
I do not update the Twitter app. Even though it says X, it's always going to be Twitter to me, and I refuse to change. I don't like change.
The beauty of this show, Dan, is we say things out loud that sometimes when I'm saying, okay, well, how would Devin Levi go back up to Buffalo? We'll just ball out. I'm like, nah, it's kind of not a hockey phrase, but what would be the equivalent of that? Chris from South Central Kentucky writing in, what would be for a hockey goalie, shut the puck up?
Okay.
Yeah. I think we can do better than that, but I appreciate the contribution as always, Chris.
No goals. There's a commercial. I'm not sure what it's for. They play on TNT, and it's the goalie for Nashville, and he's in the locker room with, I don't know, hopefully it's a random player, but he's asking, like, what's your goals for the... He's like, no goals. No goals.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I think it's Juicy Sorrows from Nashville.
Yeah.
Who will be in town Sunday when the Sabres play him.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Sunday night, I'm like, do I want to go out there? I'm like, I'd like to. Got to be here
what time's the
game? At 7 o'clock.
Okay.
If it was an afternoon game, I'd be like, heck yeah. No, the reason why is, well, they want to give a little bit of a buffer here. Sabres Thursday night in St. Louis. Friday night there in Carolina.
And then come back,
they come back. So, yeah, that's why they made that a Sunday night game. Very rare to have a Sunday night home game for the Sabres. One thing, topic on the show today, PR, this PR world we kind of live in here. And we talked about this with Connor Bedard and how, like, well, the Blackhawks GM, just say, hey, we've all, I love Joe Yurden, how he kind of just brought this back to relatable experiences. We've all worked in a building where somebody gets let go, and that's mysterious. What happened? Gossip. And no, like management, no, you don't need to know. We're not going to tell you. And there's rumors, and you don't address those rumors. You never hear like a GM addressing rumors. Like the fact that like the need that Davidson, this young GM for the Blackhawks, actually felt like he had to address the rumors. Now, the rumors last night, this came all off the air, and Danger was texting me. It's like, hey, have you seen, like, nobody knows if it's true. There is a report. I could do the roundabout way of telling you what this is like rumored to be, and I'm going to do that. Like 93.7, the fan in Pittsburgh had former player Kennedy on and said, no, I think that rumor of Connor Bedard's mother on a mom's trip with Corey Perry is not true. So that's what he said on the air, and that's who I'm sourcing, and there you go. Which
that's more than I need to know.
It's more than you need to know, and it's like, well, how did we get? There's a Frank Cervelli report too that he's reporting that this happened on whatever it was on November 17th in a game in Nashville. It involved alcohol. Well, shocking, like things like this that happen involving alcohol. Couldn't believe that. Well, that's one PR thing. Like, hey, don't address rumors. Never do that. Why? Don't do it. And then because people like me, like, wait, what's he talking about rumors? And then you like look it up. Oh, this is out there, but it's a rumor. Nobody's really reporting it. The other thing too is like I didn't realize that we can't say fired a coach anymore. We like to say that as fans, but teams never say that. Ken Dorsey was relieved of his duties. What, like you're in the service? You're relieved, officer? Like, give me a break. You were fired. Just say it. Direct communication. Well, I didn't realize, like, the Buffalo Sabres are taking this approach with players that are sent down. We're loaning you to Rochester. Loaning? You're sent down. That's why when it came across yesterday, like, we were on the air reacting to this in real time, like, oh, Devin Levi was loaned to Rochester. Like, this is some sort of rehab assignment. Then you do, like, oh, wait, no, that injury. He played after that injury. What's this all about? Asked Seth. Oh, no, he's here to... Oh, okay. This is how we say now players are sent down. We're loaning you. Can't wait till that kind of takes off everywhere. And I had to laugh because I did it again today. Like Brandon Byro goes up and we're loaning Yuri Kulik back to the Amerks. Oh, okay. Loaning? He signed a contract. You can do whatever you want to with the player. Devin Levi is going to be fine. I think it's going to be a fun month of Amherst hockey, knowing that you have a goaltender that can become this world-class goaltender up in the NHL and enjoy him while you're here. This was supposed to be the plan all along, folks. This was supposed to be the timeline where Devin Levi playing at Northeastern and doing great things, and Sabres pick him up in the trade with Florida, and then he'd be coming this year, ticketed to Rochester. Funny thing happened, though. The little bit of work he got up in Buffalo is good. He gets another game. It's good. It's good. And all of a sudden, the Sabres somehow are trying to backdoor their way into the postseason, and, he's really good. And then, it was a long college season, long this, and we don't need to put him on the clear day roster. You can't tell me it's about development now. It's about the moment. And the moment back in April was, hey, Devin Levi is playing really well. Like, what purpose would that do to send him to Rochester? Now, the way he's playing up in Buffalo, not so good. And now, UPL is playing really good. That's the part of the story we can't overlook, that, okay, maybe the Sabres have a number one goalie. His name is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And if UPL is going to get the bulk of the work, well, now it becomes, all right, if you want to make sure Devin Levi is getting the work he needs to become a 1A or 1B, then this is an option. And he didn't put up any stink. Devin Levi today coming down and talking with reporters here today in Rochester.
I know that they're a good team and they could win. Really good players, and the coaches are super focused on player development and winning at the same time. So I've had a lot of conversations with Seamus, goalie development guy and goalie coach over here, and we have a great relationship. I've talked to him throughout my 2 years at Northeastern, and he knows me really well as a goalie. I think he's watched every game that I've played in the last two and a half years. So I think that it's very, very positive thing to be able to work with him right now. So I'm really excited for that, and for him to be a mentor and to help me evolve as a goalie. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be here.
All right, so I'm going to throw this one at you, Dan, because you are Mr. Hockey Nut. And I agree with Joe Yurden. NHL is the best league in the world. The AHL is the best league in the world. But let's just kind of narrow that down to North America. What would be the third best? Is it the ECHL or is it Hockey East? I'm going to say it's Hockey East. I asked the ECHL are pros. I get all that, but they
I almost look at it like I would go, it's probably something collegiate, like you're saying. Because I would go NHL, AHL, and then some sort of collegiate league. That's what I would go with. Probably, I don't have one at the top of my head, which I would label number 3. But probably a college league.
So my point is, like, Devin Levi was playing.
You could say like the European leagues. There's European leagues where players go over, like Austin Matthews did that, and I think if like one player on my team.
I'm just saying, if you're just staying at home, just North America, to me, Hockey East. College hockey is something that, that I would see. But so Devin Levi, good that he has his head on straight, and all of a sudden these Amherst games come a little more interesting, do they not? Up in Belleville, though. Darn it, they're not home this week, Friday and Saturday. We did talk, there is an event, though. Nighthawks, they'll be opening against Calgary. If you missed that, you can download, here's the way you do it today. Download the Odyssey app. So when you're driving around in your car, you don't have to worry about the signal on 95.7 or AM 950. You can drive to Buffalo or Syracuse and still pick us up clearly. That's the best way to listen to our station, right through the app. And then if you miss something, an interview, and you want to go back to it, and you're a big Nighthawk fan, then you can check out Ethan O'Connor. And we talked to him about his decision to come over to Rochester, as the Nighthawks will be open up against the Calgary... I put myself in a trap.
Yeah, because
the Calgary lacrosse men coming up. On Saturday night. Tomorrow on the show, we'll be talking to Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy, and we'll also be talking to Jim Riley. He hosts the Barreled Up podcast in the Odyssey app, talking baseball, and he's got some Rochester roots. He's a Bills fan, but he's also one of the few guys that are going and digging and churning. What is going on with Shohei Ohtani? Friday, it's December. Usually December means, the hot stove should be burning. And I get it from Ohtani's standpoint that You want maximum dollars. This is the way to do it. I think fans view this as the secrecy of where Shohei Ohtani's talking to. He just wants to be respectful. And that might be part of it. But this also might be the new template here. Like, hey, if you want my client, you cannot report to anybody. You cannot leak to anybody. We had a meeting, a conversation, anything whatsoever. That's not on the table. You can't do that. So it becomes this sort of, it becomes a blind bid. That's what it happens. Like we all play, in a fantasy football league where maybe you have to put a bid in on the player, and then how many times you look at it the next day and like, oh my gosh, I bid $20 on that when I could have had him for $4. Why did I do that? Well, granted, these are people that do this for a living, and I'm sure there's espionage might be a strong word, but I'm sure there's intel that teams might be trying to figure out, okay, what are the Dodgers really doing? A lot of misinformation out there. But there is one thing, getting back to Jim Riley about what he's reporting here. Teams that are in on Shohei, they can't tell anything. But what about teams that aren't? That's how we're going to kind of learn, like, hey, we're out, but you know what? We're open for business with your client. We'll have money to spend in other areas. Like, if you realize, all right, are we better off getting one Shohei or getting a bat for the lineup, a solid starting pitcher, and maybe 2 relievers? Hey, look, you can make the argument the other way. And there's one team, a very good team, that said, no, we're out. According to Riley, it's the Texas Rangers, which Texas, they've got the wherewithal. They've got the new stadium. They've got the big market. But are they really a national team? And I'd say no. It's kind of odd. Like the Dallas Cowboys, yeah, they're like Dallas Rangers. We don't even call them the Dallas Rangers. They're the Texas Rangers. They're like the forgotten team in baseball. And yes, they have the Grom. Yes, they won a World Series. Yes, they brought in Scherzer. No, we don't care. I don't even know any one local Texas Ranger fan. I'm sorry. For that reason, I thought, well, from a business standpoint, that might have made sense. According to this report, no, they're out. There's another thing, and it stops short of naming the team, but Riley's sourcing another report. They're saying there's one AL East team that's actually out on Shohei. And that AL East team, Riley thinks, it's the Boston Red Sox. Now, that's not an actual report. We're just connecting dots on that, but same sort of deal for the Red Sox where, yeah, that would be really exciting, but that's a team that wasn't that far off. I mean, they were respectable, but that's not you're a Red Sox fan. You're like, okay, that was better than what I thought, but no, not to our standard. Shohei coming in would be exciting, but I could see why the Red Sox might want to take it another route. Plus, I don't know with their front office which direction is up or down or whatever. It seemed like, hey, we're about bringing in new players and development. No, you're fired. So it's kind of odd how the ownership deals with things out in Boston, but the speculation is that the Red Sox are out. And you could say, well, Gene, don't you know that Shohei doesn't want to play on the East Coast? And I just point this out. Where does that come from? Where does that come from that Shohei Ohtani does not want to play on the East Coast? Who reported that? Did that come out of Shohei's mouth? No. To my knowledge, no. Did that come out of his agent's mouth? No. Why would he say that? He would want multiple teams bidding on. After Shohei did kind of the unexpected, which was signed with the Angels. Like, what? Why? Why the Angels? Mike Trout? Really? Okay, great. It was Brian Cashman talking to reporters in some sort of hot stove free agency media session that's why the Yankees weren't in, because they were never kind of invited. And that was Cashman's explanation. We just kind of took that, and over the years, that just kind of came the Bible. Now, maybe that is true, but I just want to point out that that's the guy who said it at the time was just maybe trying to save face a little bit. And maybe the Yankees are, secretly in on this. Maybe the Mets are in. Dan.
No, Gene,
Dan, Dan, this is the time of year. Yes. Listen, it's all new. It's a new season coming up upon us here. We're allowed to get excited here in the off season, Dan. It was a miserable ending to the season. Miserable watching the stupid Phillies and the Braves and everybody else in the National League do well. But I would expect the Mets to be in on this, and despite that they're an East Coast team. What about Toronto? A lot of teams. What about Chicago? Boy, that would be fun, having Shohei Ohtani at Wrigley Field, would it not?
Yeah, I just don't see, I don't understand the intrigue from his perspective. Why he'd want to go, unless it's just the Cubbies being like a...
Yeah, you don't... It's a good point. What is important to Ohtani?
Money.
Well,
and sponsorships and
well, thank you, Dan. Aside from money, what is it? Is he going to want personnel? Is it a lifestyle thing? Is it a big city? Does he want a smaller market? And by smaller market, Chicago is not smaller market. Anaheim, you may say, "Oh, that's LA." It's not LA. It's like, if you've ever been to that part of California, it's nice. It's kind of out there. Orange County, a little more quiet. A little more off the beaten path. And you can fart around and be Mike Trout and not win anything. And nobody holds you accountable. So I think, if I had to kind of predict, and my buddy Brandon Potter over at Fisher, just points this out. The Giants were all in on Aaron Judge. The Giants, to my knowledge, didn't actually reallocate that money. If they have this nest egg saved up, that might have been just we didn't get Aaron Judge, but what if we got Ohtani and brought him up here? Ohtani in that ballpark, and for whatever reason, pitchers automatically become so much more better. Carlos Rodon was dealing as the Giants, and then comes to Yankee Stadium, he can't stay healthy. So, can you imagine Shohei when he becomes healthy in 2025 on the mound in that ballpark? That would be interesting. I hope it's not the Dodgers. Not that I'm a Dodger hater. I just don't know if that moves the needle for the sport. It just already seems like the Dodgers are already kind of there, and they would be there. And it's not like you're going to put them on national television any more than that. I just want to get him to a market that loves baseball. And I would say San Francisco, Chicago.
I got it. Philadelphia should be in on this.
Yeah. They should be.
Could you imagine him there? I mean, we saw the crowd in the playoffs this year. That was insane.
Yeah. I don't know what they're thinking here. You have those rumors about Atlanta being.
No, thank you.
I don't. They've got a lot of mouths to feed there too. Mm-hmm. I mean, but that would be an investment. Look, you're any contending team. That's a guy you want.
Every team should be in on him, regardless of. Obviously, if you can't financially, San Diego's not going to be doing that, but every team should be in on him, regardless.
I do find it interesting, though. Well, kind of sad, for baseball fans. We should be just kind of reveling, oh my gosh, he took a meeting with the Mariners today, or oh my god,
that'd be cool too.
Well, we're not getting these reports.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's not going to be where we had Aaron Judge updates last year, and you knew it was down to 2 teams, and the Padres were sniffing around, but. This year we can't get anything, and I think it's disappointing. I get it from the player's perspective. I get it certainly from the agent's perspective. Just baseball doesn't have the juice to say, you know what? No, that would have been the way to kind of do it. Where Major League Baseball, MLB front office could have been putting this stuff out there, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do? We're the ones reporting this, not you.
Promote your product, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's that should have been the power move there. So sorry, that's not going to be it. We need to keep our fans kind of informed and keep ourselves in the headlines. Can you imagine if Shohei took a meeting with Brian Cashman? I mean, forget talking about Aaron Rodgers and sunscreen and all the nonsense he's all about. We'd be talking about that. We got shots coming up. We also have Wayne Wilson here in the sports bar coming up. We haven't even gotten to Syracuse made that hire official. So
forgot all about it.
Forgot all about it. It happened. Also, wait a second. Mark Cuban sold? What? How? Why? Something's fishy here. We'll get into that. My name is Gene Battaglia. Mike Danger off today. Dan DeLorean here as well. Here in the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Amherst up in Belleville Friday and Saturday. Goaltender Devin Levi joining the team today for practice. He's got a good attitude.
The goal of me being here is to be able to play. So personally, my plan is to play games, to practice hard, get better every day. Doesn't really matter where I am. My job's the same, stop the puck. So, I'm here to win games. I'm here to play my best and get better and have some fun doing it.
Yuri Kulik coming back down. Brendan Byro going up. Sabres in St. Louis tomorrow night. The Amherst will have the Friday and Saturday games. Don Stevens will have the call north of the border. From the NFL today, the Browns, their quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson in concussion protocol. If he can't go against the Rams, it'll be Joe Flacco at quarterback. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM, and streaming online at thefanrochester.com and the Odyssey app. This is The Fan, Rochester.
When you have an opportunity to play in the American League, sometimes it's actually it's a gift because you can kind of flip your mindset a little bit and just focus that day on where you are and getting better. And then, ultimately what's your goal? And if your goal is to be a great goalie in the National Hockey League, then sometimes these are opportunities to work in your game and do that. So, yeah, all positive, all part of the process for him.
Yeah, everybody's saying all the right things today. Devin Levi coming down to Rochester. That was Sabres GM Kevin Adams. I'll get to some of these stories we haven't gotten to. Mark Cuban sold? Mark Cuban sold it. Yeah, Mark. This is weird. This is like what is really going on here. So Mark Cuban, the owner, as they say, the governor of the Dallas Mavericks, selling his majority stake of the team for $3.5 billion to the Adelson family. The Adelson family, Sands Group, Casino Connection, Cuban still owns the minority stake, still would be in charge of basketball operations. Now, why do this? All right, well, Miriam Adelson is the leader of the Sands Group, and she has been talking for years with Cuban about building a casino, entertainment district in Dallas that would include a new arena for the Mavericks, and those plans require gambling to become legal in Texas. Cuban is lobbying for that. I don't like a sidebar. How does not every state have this right now? We moan for good reason about New York State and some of these things, but at least we got that going. Cuban also leaving Shark Tank this coming season. I didn't know that until I read that today. So maybe he's just trying to power down at age 65. But I don't know. It seems kind of unusual that he be letting go in some regards. And by the way, like if you're not the majority owner, you could get overruled here. So good luck holding on to the power there, Mark. Please don't ask the NBA us to explain the in-season tournament. I don't know. It was like last night. It was weird. The Knicks advanced to the quarterfinals because, their point differential was actually better than Cleveland's. Cleveland last night, this was a situation. They were up by 20 with 3 minutes to go, and Atlanta's already pulled their starters out of the game. They waved the white flag, but Cleveland's still going because they're trying to make up the point differential gap. Yeah, and they couldn't make it up, so the Knicks advance. Cleveland does not. 7 games in the NBA tonight, back to regular season play, I suppose. The Lakers in Washington, Philly is down in New Orleans, Phoenix is up in Toronto. None of these games, you would have to get the package for it. Syracuse football, we haven't gotten to this. They've hired their coach, and they're rolling the dice on Fran Brown. The 40-year-old is the new head coach of the program. He comes from Kirby Smart's staff in Georgia, serving as the defensive backs coach. He does not have any head coaching experience. The New Jersey native gets the job for his ability to recruit. Syracuse, by the way, is bowl eligible. We'll find out next week where exactly they play. Judah Mintz went for a career-high 33. The Orange thumping LSU 80-57. LSU basketball, well, they're good in some sports. Women's basketball, national championship, top 25 team for Brian Kelly. Men's basketball, they suck. That was their 12th straight road loss. Chris Bell of the Orange chipping in with 17. First win over a Power 5 school this season for the Orange, now 5-2. Next up, okay, let's see how this goes. Beginning ACC play, SU playing at Virginia Saturday at noon. Finally, maybe you watch the Steeler game, you watch this and like, what the heck is Deontay Johnson doing? It might have been the loafiest of loaf plays I've ever seen on a football field where the football's just kind of sitting there and Johnson's just kind of looking at it like, dude, that's a live ball. He doesn't fall on it. Well, he was asked about it today, and at least he admitted that it looks bad for him. And he's got to do a better job of fighting until the whistle blows. Quote, I own it. I'm not perfect, so all I can do is keep moving forward and just play football. That's all I'm worried about. Earlier today, we were joined by PJ Glasser, BetQL Network, your host to Send It In daily 1:30 on the network there. And, yeah, he likes Arizona plus the points, plus the 5.5. Like, are the Steelers actually mature enough to get this done this week? I don't know. It's a bye week, Dan. Like, it might be one of those weeks. That's down in Pittsburgh. Like, you're a Bills fan that you just want to do something different this Sunday? That might be one. Let me just see. What would be... I'm just trying to think of things that... Steelers, Cardinals, tickets. What do you think here? I put the... What would be the get-in price?
I could see under 100. I don't think it's a big... Maybe in Pittsburgh it is, but I don't imagine it's a big ticket. I don't think it's a popular game.
$68.
There you go.
$68.
That's not bad.
That's a good get-in price.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's if you want to go down and see the Jets in Atlanta, why would you do that?
Well, if you're a Falcons fan, and they're fighting for their division.
Yeah, $24. New England and the Chargers at $57. That's a little surprising. San Francisco, Philadelphia. That's
yeah. Oh yeah.
What are you channeling there, Mike Mayock? Oh yeah. San Francisco, Philadelphia, $244. Get-in price. Carolina, Tampa Bay at $30. Yeah, there's bad football is still football. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Good experience.
We got to get to Wayne Wilson, RIT head coach, as the Tigers home against Robert Morris. You can hit us up on X at The Fan Rochester. We'll also tell you what's happening on the show tomorrow. My name is Gene Battaglia. Mike Danger out today. Dan DeLorean right alongside, helping out here on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams.
866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Surprise your loved ones with a gift of self-care by giving your loved ones a gift card from the spa at the Del Monte this November. For every $250 gift card purchased, receive an additional $25 gift card. The gift card allows a special someone to indulge in one of their signature spa treatments, bask in their salon services, and treat themselves to the many luxurious products at the Spa Del Monte's boutique. Visit them at Spa Del Monte or purchase a gift card instantly at delmontespa.com. This man works and works and works, even though when we get to the Christmas break, he's going to be out there scouting and recruiting and everything else. Hey, Coach Wayne Wilson of the RIT Tigers joining us here today. Wayne, how was your it was kind of odd, having a big holiday there, the family, and then you're playing 2 games. How was your Thanksgiving weekend, Wayne?
Actually, it was really good, and my wife actually went to visit her parents for the Thursday, but she made it back and brought my daughter, husband, and then grandkids back. So they love their Tiger hockey, so that was great to spend some time with the grandkids as well.
So the Tigers 5 seconds away from a weekend sweep, but then again, you won Friday night. So how do you view the weekend that was for your team?
And 6 seconds away from trying it. So crazy. But no, we knew they were going to be very good. And I thought the first night in particular, I thought we played very well. I don't know if we were on our A game the second night, but I will say that when you have a lead that late in the game, and just kind of a little series of some bad bounces and a couple of good teaching moments as well, to give up the lead where they tie us up with 5 seconds left, and then they win it in overtime with 6 seconds left. So kind of strange events and a bit of a heartbreaker, and it stings a little bit. But we've also got to respect our opponent, that they were a very good opponent, and sometimes you've got to play longer than just 60 minutes. It goes into overtime, and you got to finish it off. And under the circumstances, we had a great start. It was just a couple of penalties I thought I'd like to have back, and but also another teaching moment for us here is, if we want to win championships, we're going to have to be a little bit better in those situations.
Yeah, it was one of your younger players, Catalano, taking the major penalty on night number 2, and all of a sudden that leads to 2 goals when you have the major penalty there. And when you're dealing with a younger player like that, Wayne, that's still kind of learning at this speed, how do you handle a situation? What do you say to a player like that when they obviously knew they did something not helpful for their team?
Yeah, well, when I talked about his penalty afterwards, and even on Monday, I was talking to the whole team about it, not just himself. But we take a 2-0 lead, and actually it was their shift that they came out after going up 2-0. He had a great shift. He had 3 or 4 shots on the shift, and probably was out there a little too long, to be quite honest with you. And then it just took a penalty. But as I told the guys afterwards, it's not a good penalty, and we can't candy coat that. But I can almost tell them what the result of the season is going to be unless we change our habits of taking those type of penalties, and it's not going to be good, and it's not going to be a surprise either. So we've got to learn off of last year, the disappointment that we had last year, and refrain from some of that. You're always going to take penalties in a game, but you've got to stay away from some of those game-changing penalties. If it's something where we're taking away a goal or preventing a goal by taking a penalty, that's one thing, but it was just an unnecessary penalty to take, and we took 2 of them in the game, I thought. So that particular game, we took 6 penalties, and 2 of them to 4 is probably acceptable in that game because, like I said, you're going to take penalties. But if we want to win something, we have to stop. Otherwise, we're not going to win anything, and that was clear last year. And so we've got to learn from it and put the team first and go from there.
Tigers head coach Wayne Wilson, our guest here in the Sports Bar, as Robert Morris comes in, and normally, like for any team starting out, but now that you have a portal, and I'm looking at this team like, wait a second, there's a couple guys from Mercyhurst and the portal, like, What do we make of this team? Kind of, first year back here, Robert Morris. What do we expect from this opponent, Wayne?
Well, it is a little bit tough to gauge for a lot of different reasons. One, we know Derek Scully is a very good goalie or a good coach, and they have a very good goalie. He's won some games for them in upwards of 50 saves in a game to win, and we've gone through that already with one of our other games. So for us, I think in particular, it's really minding our business and how we want to play and what's our mindset, how determined are we to come out, and we can't have a letdown after playing a ranked opponent and then not playing someone because we really don't know their team. Freshmen, a lot of graduate students from all over. A couple of them are from our league, so we get to know a couple players. But other than that, we're watching tape, and we don't know them personally, but we know some of the things they're doing. But it's going to be a little bit different, and we've just got to worry about ourselves.
Yeah, one thing I liked, one change you made there, I'm just curious if it's going to stick here. I liked Gonzalez playing up with Wilkie and also Corey Laskowski. That decision, is that something that's going to stick here, Wayne? Your thoughts on Elijah and how his season's going here? Yeah,
it's going to stick for Friday night anyways, and we liked it too. And we also know that Tanner and Grady Hobbs also have chemistry. They kill penalties together, and they're on the same power play unit as well. So there's some chemistry there, and we're hoping that with Simone that will also happen. But yeah, I think Elijah. I mean, he was banged up there and missed some games. He came back strong, and we just wanted to take a look there. I don't think we can be afraid to make some changes, and we don't make many changes from weekend to weekend, but I thought it was just time, almost like the 1/3 of the season mark, and that we needed to just kind of spruce some things up there, and we'll probably do that a couple of times here and take a look at some things, but they're nothing major. We know what Elijah in particular is all about, just because he's been with us for so long, and I thought he had a good weekend.
Yeah, I can't believe these are the last two home games of the calendar year here, Wayne. I mean, but you're getting the students back, you'll get the band back, the corner crew should be, what kind of difference does that make for the team when you get a full house there?
Yeah, the younger crowd in particular, when you lose the students, it kind of sucks a little bit of the energy out of the building. But we had two great crowds against Mercyhurst. We are anticipating another really good two crowds against Robert Morris here. We've had great fan support, and even over the Thanksgiving break, the community came out and did a great job as well. So, we hope to continue on that. Hopefully winning will also help with that, but we're looking forward to playing at home again this weekend.
How's the health? Everybody healthy heading into this weekend?
Yeah, Adam Jeffrey is real close. That's the one that's been out for an extended period of time there, or hasn't even played this year because of his injury. He's seeing the doctor tomorrow, and we're hoping he gets clearance. And then he's been practicing but staying out of any contact drills, like to get him involved in some contact before we play. So it may be AIC, but it may be we'll have to wait till we get back after break and get him in, but we'd like to get him in as soon as possible.
RITtickets.com for all the info. Wayne, appreciate the time today, and we'll see you Friday night.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Head coach Wayne Wilson as the Tigers taking on Robert Morris. Robert Morris, that was the story where Terry Schaefer, who went to Penfield, he played goalie for them, and he called me up. He's like, can you help us out? Like, he couldn't believe the story. Like, the school administration just like, oh, we got to make budget cuts. I mean, that can happen. I guess it's business, but normally you don't get that in a college setting, and there wasn't any recourse. So what did they have to do? Like, almost like youth hockey. They had to fundraise, they had to meet donors, and here they are 3 years later, Robert Moore's back in the league. And it's almost like if you're a Steeler fan and the Cleveland Browns, like, oh, hey, you're back. We still don't like you. So, like if you're in the college hockey, that should be a lot of fun this week. RIT, Robert Moore's another option, particularly Friday night. Amerks are out of town. That should be a good one. I'm trying to get you to come back there, bud.
My first game back was against Notre Dame, and that's the first time in a long time, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You snuck in.
You got me in, Gino. I appreciate it. I don't know how you did it, but you got me in last second. The same day of the game. I don't know how you did it.
We will talk to tomorrow on the show. Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy, set your fantasy lineup. And I got a hunch that we'll hear more rumors, hot stove, Shohei, that sort of thing. Peter writing in a pollster. He put up there, which you can go vote on here. Where will he go? I said the Giants, given the 4 choices. We'll talk to our buddy Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast. You want more baseball? You can check that out inside of the Odyssey app. And Mike Danger, let's say they're 50-50
Game
tomorrow.
time decision?
Game time decision, questionable tomorrow. Questionable. He did say, Dan, he did like you on the monitor. He was watching. He was monitoring us yesterday.
Thank you, Mike Danger. Thank you.
I don't know. He might be doing that today. Who knows if he's doing that
He's not baking?
No, he shouldn't be. He's flat on his back, sleeping, and hopefully fighting whatever.
Recovering.
Yeah, recovering. That this is. So, again, as is the tradition here, we're not sure who's up next. Might be Bart Winkler. Might be Hot Take Hickey. It's the wheel of CBS Radio. Coming up next here on the Fan Rochester.
It's that time again.